I was watching Schindler's List last night and getting totally wrecked.
That's like a good night. Like, oh man, I'm gonna grab us some beer. Come on, guys, go grab some beers and watch some Schindler's List.
Actually, no, that
Honey, can you bring up some of those tiny snacks and those little pizzas for the boys?
Welcome down to the abyssal lair of the radiophonic sea creatures. Neck down a bowl of Chinese bat pig soup for the soul, because I, Tokyo Choo Choo, am going to be your host today. And with me, as always, are two men who have decided to become terrorists by refusing to wash their hands, touching everything in sight, standing way too close to everyone, and coughing directly into elderly people's faces. It's Human Metal and Brack. How are you guys? How are you, Human Metal?
Cleansing the rubble or something. Yeah.
Jeez, don't be German. Do not use the word cleansing.
At least I didn't put ethnic in front of it. Come on. There.
It was implied. The ethnic is silent.
Imply away. I didn't say anything. I won't risk putting that online. Anyway, no. Aside from living in a corona-ridden country like pretty much everyone else right now, and having had major shoulder surgery, I'm fine.
So
yeah.
That's a weird rubric of fine. Yeah. But okay.
Those are famous last words. It's like,
yeah, I guess.
Despite the fact that I've just had shoulder surgery and everybody seems to be dying from the fucking modern plague, yeah, I'm all right.
You know, glass half full kind of guy. That's me.
Oh, God damn it. Yeah. Well,
how are you guys?
How are you, Brack? Are you holding up?
Yeah, I'm not sick. I'm not sick yet, I think. I hope. I just bought a boat called Live Forever, so I think I'm going to be fine. That's a McBain joke, in case you didn't get it.
I have not a clue. I don't even know what McBain is.
In Simpsons, there's like this parody of Arnold Schwarzenegger, right?
That guy. Okay.
There's like this part there who's like 5 days from retirement, and I just bought a boat called Live Forever, and then like the scene after that, he immediately died, obviously, because it's like one of those setups of a character who obviously is like talking about like showing a picture from home to a fellow soldier, like something like that, like, oh, this guy is gonna die like the next scene. So yeah, that's why I got it, the Live Forever boat.
Yeah. I think they have the same joke in Hot Shots with the guy who keeps showing him his call sign is literally dead meat. He's got like the picture of his wife and his wallet, and he like as he's going to the plane to go on this mission, you know, I think his wife breaks a mirror. Like he walks under a ladder, a cat runs in front of him, and someone brings out his life insurance papers, and he says, "No, I'll sign them when I get back." Anyway, talking about movies, today we are going to be talking about the top 15 movies of the last decade. So we already did games. So, yeah, it's time to talk about movies. So I suspect there may well be some good movies on this list.
Like, we're talking about movies from the last decade, which are while living in what could be the last decade, like in general. So, yeah, it's good timing.
Did I say the last 15 years again? I keep getting the number of movies confused with how many years.
You said it right. Movies last decade.
Oh, okay. That's good.
You realized what a decade, how long it is. That's good.
All right, okay. I thought Brack was recorrecting my mistake.
But no. I said movies from the last decade while living through what could be the last decade of life on Earth. But no, but you got it.
Definitely the last decade for you, Mr. Coffee. Anyway, let's launch straight in. So with our first pick, but I should say before we start, there will be spoilers for these movies. So if you haven't seen these, you should definitely stop the podcast and go watch it, and come back when you've seen it. And we are going to go through in chronological order.
I'm actually avoiding spoilers on one of my picks, which is like a pick that I know nobody else on this podcast has watched, so I don't want to spoil it. So I'm gonna leave that unanswered.
All right. Okay. I do believe that for the first pick, we are going to hand you off to Humor Metal.
All right. Most of the picks on my list are representative picks because I am really bad at making top lists where it comes to, oh, this is my absolute favorite or something. So I was like, okay, how can I justify picking one movie over the other? So it's like, okay, what are some of my favorite directors? What are some of my favorite genres, franchises that happened in the previous decade? And I wanted to just pick one movie that I liked for these kind of things. So, since I like Christopher Nolan movies, I picked Inception from 2010 because that's arguably my favorite Christopher Nolan movie from this decade. I mean, Dark Knight was before that, so yeah. And I like that movie a lot. I still like that movie a lot. I think it is, just like most Christopher Nolan movies, it's hampered a bit if you already know what's gonna happen, if you know the twist and shit like that, because a lot of his movies are set up in the beginning. And, once the shit gets really going, it's awesome. But, if on a rewatch, it can be not as strong as it is on the first watch. But for me, it still holds up. I recently rewatched it. I think it's great. I think everything, the visuals are great. The sound editing in this movie is fantastic. I love the story. I like the characters. I think it's a really fun kind of heist movie in a way, and really creative with its dream mechanics and everything. And yeah, I think it's just a really good action science fiction mishmash thing with some nice, brain plot twist thing here and there, and a nice brain twisty ending in a way. So yeah, I still like that movie. I pretty much like most of the other Christopher Nolan movies that came out this decade as well, but I think this one is still the strongest for me. And I'm really looking forward to his next one because that again seems to be really focused on time stuff. So I wonder what he's gonna do. What Christopher Nolan is going to do if he goes full time travel bullshit or whatever. So yeah.
So you told me this is like a representative pick, right? Representative of like Nolan movies.
Yes.
But when you said it, I was like, oh, this is a representative pick of movies where the soundtrack goes. Brum.
Well, in the trailer more so, I guess, maybe. But yeah, that happens too. But I don't know. That was when that still wasn't so prevalent. That was one of the movies that kind of started it, so I'm willing to forgive it, kind of. So,
by the way, like 2010 is like there's like two trailers in that year that like changed like trailer making history, right? Because you had Inception with like the Bram, and then you had the Social Network with like the super slow, creepy version of Creep, like which started like the movie versions of like pop songs, where like super slow down pop songs.
Yeah.
Which also is like a trend that's gone on for like
more melancholic versions of rock or heavy metal tracks or something like that, or pop versions. Yeah.
Well, yeah, 2010 is really like a big year for trailers.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's changed again, like in the previous years now, the way trailers are now edited, especially for action movies. It's like they're trying to edit the beats to certain parts in the music for the trailer. Like, when people fire their guns, they try to edit that to the way like the shot. I think they did that in the Punisher trailer and shit like that. They do that in a bunch of movie trailers.
Yeah, very, very Baby Driver. Like I know the Mission Impossible movie did it as well.
Right.
But,
and I like that. I think
I love it
I think it can get overbearing if it's like if this is the only kind of trailer you're getting to see. It's like, yeah, I've seen it before. Try something new. But I still think it's one of the best things you can do by making a trailer be more interesting. And I love music edited, or let's say action scenes or movie scenes edited to a certain kind of movie music. That's what I liked about Baby Driver, and that's what I liked about anime music videos. If you want to get down to super weird, but yeah,
it's actually also has like a pretty like important music track, right? Like it reminds there's like it reminds the main character of that, like his figment of his dead wife memory is like nearby, which is like the sort of emotional through line in Inception, which is in my opinion a little bit the weaker part of it. Like I love the movie. It's a great like heist movie, and I love heist movies. And it's like really fun, and I love the world, like the way it explores like interesting like sci-fi like ideas. With the way like the time slowing down when you're like deeper into the dream. I love all that kind of stuff. And in general, it's just a great fucking movie. Like it's so much fun to watch, like especially watching it on a big screen. And like you feel that a lot of that stuff is like not that like special effects heavy. There are definitely a lot of special effects in there, but there's like a certain real weight to like the world. And yes,
Christopher Nolan and his team are really good at utilizing CG, special effects, everything in a way that supports the movie, that enhances the movie instead of becoming the centerpiece of the movie, and the showcase, or let's say becoming so ubiquitous, so visible, so obvious that it kind of takes away from the rest of the movie. That doesn't happen in those in his movies, I think. So yeah, I still think that movie holds up. I don't know. Breck seems to agree. Tutu, how about you?
Yeah, I like Inception. Fine. I actually like a couple of Christopher Nolan's movies more. I think I like Dunkirk and actually Interstellar more.
Really? I thought you were kind of lukewarm on Interstellar.
Well, no, I liked it. Just I really hate the kind of ending of it. But the thing is, now I've rewatched Interstellar quite a few times, and each time I watch it, I enjoy it a little bit more.
That's nice.
And I think it's like really fantastic, high-minded science fiction, and the whole action scene with the spinning spaceship is one of the greatest like bits of science fiction.
Yeah, that's great.
Cinema put to tape. It's just awesome. But yeah, I enjoy Inception. I'll enjoy all of Christopher Nolan's films. He hasn't made a bad film.
Dark Knight Rises arguably is probably his weakest.
It is his weakest, but it's only bad in comparison to everything else that's great. You know what I mean?
High standards, right? I mean, he is a great filmmaker. He is a fantastic filmmaker.
it's still like even on a technical level, The Dark Knight Rises is probably still the best shot like superhero movie like of all time. Like it's still unique in like certain aspect. And I think I love Interstellar as well. And I think it has like the best emotional moment of any like Christopher Nolan movie, which is the scene that literally makes me cry every single time. It's just the moment where they just get off that like one planet where like the time is like sped up, and they get back, and then he watches those videos from home, and it's like he sees the entire life of his children like over videotape. Very like emotional scene, while still like being like related to like a sci-fi premise. And I think I missed that a little bit in like some of his other sci-fi movies, where it really mixes like the human element with the sci-fi element.
Oh man, the moment that gets me in Interstellar is the blast off scene where he's taking off from Earth. And usually, in those type of movies, when you're blasting off, to start the adventure or whatever, it's like really exciting. And I love the way that Christopher Nolan turned that on its head with with Interstellar. Yeah, that was fantastic. When the adventure begins, you're just like, yeah, great stuff. I always also, please stop making films with similar titles, Christopher Nolan. Interstellar, Inception, it messes my brain every single time. But yeah, a good movie. And no one mentioned it, but that twisting fight in the hotel corridor. Oh man, that's awesome. That's so fucking badass. Totally cool.
Aren't you looking forward to his new movie, Interception? Oh.
Yeah. Oh man.
It might happen.
Yeah.
So
no,
who's
do
next?
That would be me. So, the next in chronological order is one of my top films, and that would be Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Uh, so yeah, huge video game fan, huge rock fan. It's just one of those films that has a little bit of everything for everyone. It's funny. It's genuinely funny. It's good natured. It's got like badass fight scenes. It's got a kick-ass soundtrack. It's got a lot of actors, playing in a very fun way. Sort of like at times it feels like they're almost making fun of themselves, especially Jason Schwartzman and Captain America. I've forgotten his name.
But he wasn't Captain America,
Chris Evans,
right? I think
Chris Evans. Yeah. No, he wasn't. But you know what I mean? Like in retrospect, it feels like he's making fun of like being an action star. But yeah, just so much good stuff. But I think one of the real surprising things is just how good everything is. Like especially the fight scenes. Those are legitimately fantastic fight scenes with great choreography. And there's just so much fun. All of the little video game Easter eggs, like the Zelda music and the guy playing the riff from Final Fantasy II on his bass guitar or whatever. There's a lot of really great fun like video game references in there. And yeah, it's just that's not really much else to say. I think everybody did a fantastic job. Like the scene where Kieran Culkin comes back. Guess who's drunk, and does that hilarious key shot to the back of Scott Pilgrim's head. I don't know why that makes me crease up every fucking time I see it. And I just love Jason Schwartzman in that film as well. Like his fashion style.
He's such an asshole.
I love the way like he's always like winking and throwing up the peace signs, but also like he's such a douchebag, but he's also fucking cool as fuck, isn't he? As well, you know what I mean?
It's cool as fuck.
He's like dress style and like the way he delivers his lines. I mean, he's awesome. I mean, total douchebag though. But yeah, I just love that film. But that's the thing. We're talking about really good movies. Often there's not much to say about them because they're just so good. There's nothing really to pick through. Like with Scott Pilgrim.
I think with Scott Pilgrim, like what is really interesting in like retrospect of like how much it has like the finger on the pulse of actors becoming big. You know what I mean? Like almost all the cast is like pretty big star right now. Like Kieran Culkin has like a HBO show, right? And you had like the girl who is Captain Marvel right now is in there as one of Scott Pilgrim's ex. Like Aubrey Plaza, Anna Kendrick, and of course like the guy who plays Captain America right now. Like a lot of like big stars that weren't big stars back then are in this movie. So it's like really at his finger on the pulse. And I really love like the editing style of this as well. Like,
that's definitely an Edgar Wright movie.
Thinking about it, you got like 2 Avengers and Superman in the same film.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Is it just 2 Avengers? Like I wouldn't even be surprised if it's more. But like I think it's just 2. But maybe Anna Kendrick is supposed to be Squirrel Girl or at some point. So that's I'm not sure if she's in the Avengers. I don't know. But yeah, it's just like such a kinetic film. Like it like never stops. It never like misses an opportunity to have like some crazy like visual on the screen. Like there's like always. It feels like the movie was written without that, like, and it was just written with jokes and everything. And then after in the editing style, okay, we're gonna do another layer of jokes on top of this entire movie, which like just with like visual stuff on top of it. So it's like really, yeah, it's like a joke a minute of a joke a second almost. It's super fun to watch.
Do you like the? I mean, this is also a very music heavy movie in a way.
Yeah.
Do you like the musical to movie editing in this more than in Baby Driver or more in Baby Driver?
I
prefer both Edgar Wright movies. So
yeah, I think I like this particular movie's musical contribution. I mean, don't get me wrong, Baby Driver's like a genius, but like, you know, it the actual soundtrack quality itself. hear the original music that was written for the film is like really, really good. I mean, perhaps that's just a personal bias. It's just like right in my kind of indie rock.
Yeah, you're an indie rock guy, so
it's very much like Baby Driver doesn't use the original music. It like uses very like classic music. So you're like, it's like you're listening to a creative guy's like great Spotify playlist, right? This is definitely like original music. I think it's made by Beck. I'm not sure.
It's actually written by Nigel Godrich, the producer who like he usually works with Radiohead, but Beck is performed like the Ramona song, right?
I think it includes, and it definitely has like that like garage rock feel to it. Like it's definitely those people that could play better music, like could be more polished music, definitely like making more unpolished versions of it. So it feels actually like a garage rock type soundtrack. Well, I love a lot of the songs in there as well.
Yeah, there's. I love the way that sometimes the music is used for comedy purposes. Like that fucking stupid Ramona song is hilarious. When she says, "Oh, no, I'd like to hear it when it's finished," and also that's so sad. I am so sad. I am so very, very sad. So sad.
And I think the only actual cover in this is Black Sheep, which I actually like the version from Brie Larson in this movie better than the original song. Like it's so much more interesting. So yeah.
Yeah. Plus the visual of that song is just awesome. Like the stage visual and all the visual effects and stuff. It's just badass. Yeah, also, I really love that.
In hindsight, I have to say, I've watched the movie, and after that I read the actual source material, the comic. And maybe it's because I checked the movie out first. I like the movie more. I don't know. I just have felt like I had more fun with the movie. It was, of course, more compact, sure, but also the way the story went and everything, it just felt more energetic, more emotional, not responsive, resonant. So I don't know. I like the movie a bit more than the comic. I don't know if any of you.
I've read the comic as well, and I like it. Think? I like it for different reasons. Like I feel like the comic definitely goes more deeper in like the sort of coming of age story aspect of it, like the teenage drama aspect for it.
But it also feels like it's meandering a bit at certain points. So I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like that's like some part of like the movie can feel kind of rushed. Like the relationship aspect of it feels like okay, I don't really feel like this is a relationship just yet. And in the comic, they're like this happens over multiple months or like something like that. So it actually feels like a real growing relationship. That's like Okay. So in a way, I like that aspect better. But I think in general, the movie is just like one of a kind, right? So it's better in that aspect. And you know what? Also a good game. I also like that game. Which never happened.
I only played the demo and now I can't get it anymore. That sucks so much. Oh god, fucking digital only sucks. God. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. Maybe someday we'll see a resurgence of that somewhere popping. I don't know if there's a pirated version. Probably. I should try to find that and download that just. Oh, nobody heard anything. No, just so that it doesn't appear from the fucking world. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that game was like way too difficult for my blood. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of fun though. So I guess we're going to come on to the next one if nobody has anything else to say. No? All right. So the next one on the list is also one of my picks, and that would be Staring, the movie. So no, it's Drive from I believe 2011. So yep, I love Drive.
Don't you mean soundtrack as text, the movie?
Yeah. Well, I never noticed that before you mentioned, but Human Metal has this thing with Drive where
Can't let it go.
Yeah, in the songs in Drive, they basically tell you basically what's happening in the plot of the.
Okay, shit! I want to talk about one of the songs because I realized something. You know the one song "Real Human Being," right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you know
my favorite?
Okay. Do you know what the song is about?
No. What's happening in the film?
Yeah, kind of.
No, because it literally, if you look the lyrics up, it's about Sully Sullenberger, the guy who landed the plane in the Hudson in New York. Like that's
that's not how it's used in the movie, and not why it is in this movie.
But it's like literally what the song is about. Like the little lyrics are about that. Like,
shouldn't it be in the Sully movie then?
But it doesn't fit in the Sully movie.
I guess.
But that's literally the lyrics are about like talking about, like literally still tell like one of the lyrics, blah blah blah. This many souls on board. Like they talk about the many souls on board and like landing in the cold water. Those are lyrics in the song. It's literally about like Sully from like the story. Yeah, it's hilarious to me. Like I didn't realize. I only realized that like somewhere this year when somebody told it to me. I was like, what? Wait, really? That's about that stuff? I had no idea.
The more you know. Sorry to be interrupted you both.
No. But yeah, but the thing is, like, when you notice that the connection that the lyrics of the songs have with what's happening on screen, you can't quite avoid it. It's like that was like the perfect film, and then Human Metal like rankled something for me.
Sorry,
by mentioning that, because every time I hear that Human Being song, I feel like, oh Jesus.
I have to say this lyrics right now. I'm going to read the lyrics right now. A pilot on a cold morn, 150 people on board, all safe and all rescued from the slowly sinking ship. Like that's literally about. It's like it's not even like obtuse. Like it's literally about that.
It's all about the chorus, you know that. So about the refrain, whatever. So
yeah,
but it's still funny.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Christ, I thought that Souls on Board stuff was just like emotionally, like, you know, him sinking into like.
Literal.
It's why they picked it, but yeah, it's funny that there's an actual literal meaning behind it. So good.
But yeah. Anyway, so we're kind of dogging on Drive's soundtrack, which actually no, if you don't concentrate on the lyrics of the songs. Thanks for that, Human Metal. It's actually it's a wonderful soundtrack. Like Nightcrawler, the opening song, Nightcrawler, like is such a fucking badass tune, man. There are so many good things about Drive. So firstly, it's beautifully shot and directed. It's gorgeous to look at. It has a great car chase scene in it. The opening car chase scene is like one of the best ever. It's like, you know, that fundamentally changed the way I play Grand Theft Auto. That car chase. It's like so great, and the cars, you know, even though like the central car chase in the kind of center part of the film isn't one of the greatest car chases or anything, man, it just makes that Ford Mustang looks so sexy. Like, God, that just makes that car look like a fucking god. Yeah, gorgeous bit of car porn there in Drive. And also the balance of the movie is really weird, but it works so well. You know, the first part of the movie is basically this romantic sort of, you know, falling in love sort of movie, and then on a dime suddenly it changes into this like revenge gangster movie, which is fucking really unexpected the first time you watch it, and just great as well. As long as you don't watch the trailer, because Drive has literally the worst trailer I've ever seen in my life, because it tells you every single fucking thing that happens in the movie and literally shows you pretty much every single character's death. You don't need to watch the film if you watch the trailer. It literally tells you everything.
The trailer makes it seem like it should be like Fast and Furious. That's like what they tried to do, to make it like, oh, this is an action-packed, more stylistic trailer, but it's definitely action-packed, and the movie definitely isn't action-packed at all.
No, definitely not. But there are highlights from that film. I think Drive has the best kiss of any film ever in the history of cinema. The final, the only single kiss he gives the girl in the elevator, because and it's really, really sad as well, especially when you watch it a second time, because like he knows that's his last chance he's ever going to get, because what he's about to do, there's no coming back from that. So like he finally kind of like takes his girl aside and macks her, and then turns around and fucking staves in someone's head with his boot, which is
how it goes.
Yeah, you know. But it's so fucking sad because he knows when he kisses her, that's it, that's goodbye. Like this is his last time he's ever going to get that chance, and it's really emotionally, affecting. Um, and I love the gentle soundtrack that not the songs, but the
The Cliff
actual.
Martinez score. Yeah.
It just works. Really terrible to listen to as a soundtrack album, but like in the movie, it works perfectly. It's just got like a real cathartic edge to it, and I love the final battle with the knife battle at the end, where Ryan Gosling and Albert Brooks like murder each other with their knives. The way it's all done in silhouette, I love that with the music and stuff. It's just perfect. It's wonderful. So there you go. Drive, just fucking Jesus, fantastic. Like I never get tired of watching that film.
Yeah, but
And
it's like one movie that compares to me a little bit is like actually the Michael Mann Miami Vice movie. That it's more like a mood piece than it's actually like a story. You know what I mean? Like I watched that movie not to like, oh, I'm gonna look at the story and what happens to the characters and what happens internally. Like it feels very much more like a mood piece. Like it's like you watch it for the texture, not for like what's actually going on screen. And in that way, I really love it. And it's been very influential. Like after that, like it really revived like that neon lightning like art style that's a lot of movies and games have like copied a little bit, or at least have been inspired by. Like a lot of like for example, the Hotline Miami games are very much inspired by Drive, and I think like the recent GTA game definitely took inspiration from that a little bit as well. So yeah, in overall, like just a great, interesting movie. Also, I think is that the first Oscar Isaac performance, like before he became big? Like he's in there as like the husband from the girl he's kissing.
I'm not sure if it's his first performance, or well, obviously it's not his first movie, but yeah, it's. I think Drive was definitely one of his. It was kind of in that period. Well, at least when I saw the film, it was in the period where suddenly Oscar Isaac was in everything good. Like he was just all over the fucking place during that period. But then again, I don't think I watched Drive when it was new. I watched Drive in around about I think I watched Drive maybe 2013, like that kind of time. So I watched it a couple years after it was released.
It's his looking at his IMDb. It's just like his one big movie before another big movie that's on our list, on my list at least. So we're gonna talk about that when we get to it.
Yeah. All right. So Human Metal. Any thoughts about Drive?
No, I liked most of it. Like I said, the soundtrack was a bit indulgent, and also for my taste anyway. But aside from that, I think just visually that movie is a feast. And I like where the story went. Characters were fine. It's just, it was a good movie, but nothing that like hit home so hard for me that I kept it in my mind or felt the need to rewatch it. But I can understand why you would connect to it. So yeah.
All right. Well, I do like staring at people.
Oh yeah, we noticed.
Very slowly staring at people. He's now staring at the camera, like for the audience who doesn't have visual. He's like right straight staring into the camera at us. So right now. So I think if Ryan Gosling does it, it's sexy. But when one of us does it, it's just creepy.
Well, to be fair, a lot of the time it's creepy when Ryan Gosling does it.
Yeah, maybe. So the next film,
I mean, could you imagine if they had like exactly the same setup, but like had Hayden Christensen instead?
No, I like that. He's like, okay, Hayden Christensen also is like a pretty guy. Like if it was like Paul Giamatti or something, or if like the Ron Perlman role in this movie and the Ryan Gosling roles were reversed. Like, imagine that movie.
Oh man, I'd love to see Ryan Gosling perform that. This is one fine ass pussy mobile motherfucker.
That would be hilarious.
Anyway, Brad,
imagine that.
What's next?
And imagine Ron Perlman just staring, like slowly kissing Gary Mulligan in slow motion. But no. That would be really funny. Okay, like you guys, you all picked American movies. Like you're basic American movie fans. Like I am an artist. I love like foreign films. So the pick on my list, obviously, is The Raid, where people smash each other in the face with their boots and kick each other's ass in slow motion, like artistically, you know, because I like artistic movies, like The Raid, a movie about a group of highly trained martial artists going into a building to fight themselves to the top floor to kill a ruthless drug lord. Art. Like I said, that's art. The story to this movie is really fucking basic, right? It's like there's nothing. I literally told you the story right like in 5 seconds. Highly trained group of people go to a building, fight themselves to the top floor to get a drug lord. That's all there is to it. But the film is shot and edited and so perfectly, and the martial arts done by like the main crew of people is like on such a high level that it makes this movie just like a pure experience of action and martial arts. And in that way, I love it. There's like not much to talk about it except outside of that. Like it probably has done action better than any movie before that, and maybe since. So yeah, in that way, it's literally perfect. Have you guys seen it?
No.
Yes. I've seen the first one, I've seen the second one, we'll get to that. But yeah, I really liked it. I liked another version of that movie more for certain reasons. We're going to talk about that too. But yeah, no, I think The Raid is fantastic. It's a great action flick, and it felt, at the time it came out, it felt really fresh. Because it was like, hey, you haven't really seen that balls to the walls, insane action reinvention, or a reinvention of the action cinema since Matrix, kinda. Although this is even more hand-to-hand focused and stuff like that. Matrix was more wireframe shit. But yeah, this is like fucking basic as hell action cinema, but it looks so great. The choreography is fucking out of this world. And if you like action, you owe it to yourself to see that fucking movie. And in my opinion, the sequel too. I don't know, Breck, what did you think about The Raid 2?
I like the sequel because it's like, it feels like the director got like a blank check. It's like, okay,
yeah,
I make my great movie and I'm going to make a second one, but I want to make it the sequel to The Raid, but I also want to make it The Godfather. Like,
yeah,
that's what it felt like. Right? So it's like, it's The Raid with like the same level of action, maybe even better and more like a bigger budget to it and like more insane, but at the same time it tries to tell like this like story about like the Jakarta underworld with like the gangsters like that fighting the Japanese gangsters, I think, and like Indonesian gangs, like they're going into a war, and like their main character is like an undercover cop in there. It's like it really tries to tell this like ground like crime story, but at the same time there's a scene where a guy with a baseball bat is like has like an interesting like a fight scene where he like kicks like 20 people's ass, right? So it's it's kind of a weird it's kind of weird, like it misses like the pureness of the first movie, but at the same time I still love that movie. Like it's still great to see.
Does it have like Ice Cube standing behind a desk with $500 sneakers that you can't even see?
Maybe, like I don't know. Maybe
okay. 22 Jump Street reference. Never mind. Carte blanche with the budget, bitches.
Like when the Raid 2 came out, there was this one behind the scenes like footage that was like on the internet, like shown around like by a lot of people, which is the scene like there's like one car chase scene in there where at some point the stuntman like hands over the camera like from like a bike into the car and on the other side to another bike again. And it's like one continuous shot where like the action scene is happening and the camera is like going inside the car and then outside the car again before it crashes. Like it's straight up insanity. So yeah, in that way I really respect it, but it doesn't have like the pureness of the first movie, which is like we're doing one thing and we're doing this one thing as best as we can.
Yeah, the first movie feels very on point, very distilled. And the second one is just, okay, we're gonna just fucking amp everything up, but kind of losing a bit of the focus that the first movie had. So,
like,
yeah.
The second movie is also like 2.5 hours. Like,
yeah.
Which is like an insane. And the first movie is like 1 like 35 or something. Like it's like 100 minutes or something like that.
And second movie is really fun, but with that length and the fucking constant barrage of super action that you're getting blasted with, it can be a bit exhausting. But if you watch it with the right people, it's super fun. So.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would like to see both the Raid movies, and I would have checked them out, except in Japan, it's really not easy to watch foreign films because they usually, like if a film comes from Korea or something, they'll have like Japanese subtitles, but they'll very rarely have English subtitles on the same disc or like on Netflix. So sometimes it makes things a bit like difficult. Like I wanted to watch Silence, the Martin Scorsese
movie
just recently.
See that.
So I rented it, but like it doesn't have English subtitles. So whilst my Japanese is all right, it's not enough to catch very deep conversations about religion in. So like, I had to abandon watching it because I was like, I can't really watch a film that has probably this like huge emotional gravitas in this type of situation where I can't understand what the fuck is being said.
Can't you import Blu-rays? I think.
You can, but then again, if you want to import Blu-rays, you got to buy the fucking thing, haven't you? Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And if you haven't seen the film, how the fuck do you know if you want to own it?
Sure, but like, this is literally like a great movie. Like I can tell you, just buy it. I got it as well on Blu-ray. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Just get it.
What? I will do. Changing pace to something completely different. Next up is one of my movies, which is actually about a group of highly trained people who go into a building and fight their way to the top floor to get rid of a drug lord. So maybe you have seen The Raid. So the film I'm talking about, of course, is Dread. So Dread is fantastic. Pretty much exactly same fucking. Just take what Brack said about The Raid and just transfer it to Dread instead of martial arts. Just replace it with guns. That's pretty much exactly the same thing. It's just a pure 90-minute action movie. It has a pounding soundtrack. It just goes through a pristine action, just like a really solid, pristine set of action sequences, and then fucking finishes. Nothing really more than that. It's got an awesome. The visual effects in it are amazing. They're very limited because the whole thing is inside a building, but every single shot, is really, really well crafted, and it just looks like a world that you really want, like a Raid 2 type sequel to it. You know what I mean? Where suddenly the budget goes through the roof, and you really want sort of more depth from that science fiction world. But what they give you in the first film is just so perfect. Like there's not a single sequence, a single shot that I would change. I wouldn't change anything about that film. It's just perfect. The soundtrack fucking kicks ass. The action sequences, the way that Dredd moves and his kind of very efficient killing style is like super, super impressive. It's like the how the remake of RoboCop should have been. How the reboot RoboCop should have been. It's basically that, and it's just absolutely awesome. There are many fantastic things about it. I love the way that you never get to see Carl Urban's face throughout the whole film. He puts on his helmet at the beginning, but he's able to convey so much emotion with just the bottom part of his face. You never at a loss to understand what Dredd is thinking. Like, there's a great scene which sticks in the memory where he finds out for the first time that this building that they're in is like a drug manufacturing plant for all of the Slow-Mo and Mega City 1, and his reaction to that is interesting. But you can see from the bottom of his face that's literally like inside he's just jumping up and down with joy.
That's also that weirded me out so much when people were like, when Mandalorian hit the TV series, the Star Wars TV series, and people were like, "Oh, what? You can't see his face. He's gonna wear the helmet the entire time. Well, that you can't sympathize with that character. You can't empathize with that character." I said, "Motherfuckers, Dredd did it before this, and it did it well. I mean, you still saw the jaw, so still a bit more, but, there's more than just the facial expressions. It's also in the voice, it's also in the body movement and everything. And I think Carl Urban does a great job at conveying what Dredd is kind of thinking, if he's thinking something aside from, I'm gonna kill that guy over there. Regardless of them not showing his face. And I think it's the same thing for the Mandalorian. You can do a lot of stuff in terms of acting, even if you're not showing your face. Because movie studios should not be afraid to not show the faces of the actors they hired. So
yeah. And it's you guys fell in love with Wall-E. So shut up. He doesn't even talk.
Exactly.
But I think the Raid and Dredd are actually similar in that they're very pure action movies. I love the way Dredd starts, right? It starts 800 million people living in the ruins of the old world, and the mecha structures within it. And the music loud, and the action scenes starts immediately, right? And it's those 5 seconds, and it tells you everything. It tells you this world sucks. It's a shit world, and it's and this guy is the only guy who's fighting crime within it. Everybody else is doesn't care anymore. And that's all you need to know about the movie. It's great.
Yeah, it's but one of the Dredd is so fucking badass. And one of the reasons it's so badass is the fact that a lot of action stars are unstoppable, but Dredd has that magic thing where Dredd is just so unstoppable, and the bad guys are so smug, and they think it's almost that thing is I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me. That type of thing. And then there's a really satisfying moment after being so smug for so long. Finally, one of the characters is how the fuck are we going to stop this guy? And I love it at the end of the adventure when Dredd, it's all over and the bad guy's dead, and Dredd leaves, and his boss comes and says, "Oh yeah, I heard a call come in for asking for assistance, so I thought I'd come down and see what was going on because that's really rare." And Dredd's just yeah, they were uncooperative, and for him, it's just a normal fucking day. Even he didn't even break a sweat. You get the feeling that really much worse things have happened to Dredd in his life than what happened in that film. It's that classic Street Fighter quote, "When I rode into your village, for you, it was a day that changed your life. For me, it was Tuesday."
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what it feels like. Yeah, and it doesn't it has that perfect slow motion. It has this amazing drug in the movie, probably one of the best fictional drugs in there, called slow-mo, where people use it and everything they feel is in slow motion, and they use it visually, and it also feels there are a couple of moments where where it feels oh man, this drug must suck, because they say it they use it on people right before they kill them, so they feel everything when it's in slow motion, and the main bad girl gets thrown off the building, off the balcony, while slow motioning is on, and it's you actually feel her go slow-mo straight into the floor, and it actually shows everything of that in slow motion. Oh man, that looks horrible, but it also looks kind of beautiful. It's one of those violence that is in the same way it's gorgeous and terrible.
Yes, artistic violence. Also really great colors. And also a reason to watch that movie in 3D in the movie theater, which I sadly skipped out on and regretted later when I watched the movie.
I watched that movie in 3D, thank God. I really I'm glad I did. Also,
good on you.
Also a movie that Domhnall Gleeson is in there, who became a big star. And this is one of those movies, I'm not sure if you care about this, where supposedly the actual director didn't direct the movie, because everybody says that Alex Garland actually directed the movie, the guy who obviously is famous for Ex Machina and Annihilation and writing Devil May Cry. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the story behind that goes the original director the original director did start directing it, but I think there was some sort of unhappiness of what he was doing, and Alex Garland sort of kind of just took over and redid a lot of his stuff actually, and then it caused a really bad feeling between them. Yeah, but it's certainly got an interesting thing, an interesting backstory. But yeah, Alex Garland pretty much did direct that, but decided, after all the shit that went down, not to take credit for it, which was interesting.
Yeah, because for that other guy, this is definitely the best movie on his IMDb. Like afterwards, like, oh man, why hasn't this guy go on to like do like bigger and better things, right? But that explains it. And Scarlett definitely went on to do a lot of bigger things.
Oh yeah.
Well,
just bigger things. Did a new TV series, right? I haven't checked that one.
I haven't seen it either.
Yeah, but I want to. Devs. Yeah, Devs, that's what it's called. Yeah, but I mentioned before, obviously the comparison to the Raid is inevitable. So, as someone who has seen both movies, just like Bragg, I would say I like Dread just a tad more, but that's more because of personal preference than of the movie's quality, because I like sci-fi shit. And I like comic book shit, and it's still based on a comic book, and it feels kind of like a comic book movie in certain parts. Just how over the top it is, the character archetypes and everything, the story in itself. It has a bit of a comic booky feel to it in certain parts, and I like that, and I like the science fiction aspect, and I like the character of Dredd so much, like how he is portrayed in this, and how Carl Urban portrays him in this movie, that I think that movie just works a bit better for me, even though I love martial arts and hand-to-hand combat. So, but still, I think just Dread as an overall package and in terms of personal preference works a bit better for me than the Raid. Still like both movies. So, there's that.
I think I like the Raid better, but I think Dread, I sometimes just put on the background because I also love the score so much. So it's like, okay, oh man, this is what this scene happens. So then I turn around to watch it for a couple minutes, and then I just go back to doing whatever I was doing, just listening to the score at the same time. Like, it has an amazing score. Really pumped, gets your blood pumping. And some people were complaining about saying, like, when Dread came out, that it's like a rip-off of the Raid, which I disagree. Like, there's no way with the production time that's going on that could be like a rip-off. It's just that both of them figured out, like, oh, this is a perfect way to have a story, to have motivation, without having too much dialogue and just get bogged down in plot. Like, so like they want their movies to be as plotless as possible, which they did perfectly.
Well, I think Dredd also did it because of budget restrictions, right? They did. I think they had to kind of go that route because they had a very limited budget to make a pretty, what should be a grand sci-fi science fiction spectacle. So I think they did really, really well with the budget restrictions. You know what I mean? I think those budget restrictions actually fueled what the film would become in the case of Dredd. But like, I think one thing we can all agree on about Dredd is, goddamn, give us more. Please, make a sequel. That film needs a sequel.
It's a shame that, I mean, Carl Urban is not getting any younger, and it's been a while since that movie came out.
So digitally de-aged chin. Okay. They have to digitally de-age that chin.
Yeah, maybe. You just do old Dredd, I don't know. But yeah, it's a bummer that we haven't gotten anything yet, because, I mean, the movie didn't do stellar at the box office, like, not at all, but all the people that saw it, or pretty much all the people that saw it, loved that thing. So you would expect that, as the studio would try to make something in that regard again, but apparently not so far.
I think it's doing a Blade Runner, though, isn't it? Like, as time goes on, more and more people love that film, like on home video and stuff. Like, I think
it has long legs,
picking up steam.
Yeah,
as the years go by. Anyway, that type of shit really gets under the skin. So coming on to the next movie on the list, which is also one of my picks, it's Under the Skin. So Under the Skin, is it's very difficult to decide what is my favorite film of the last decade, but I think perhaps it probably is actually Under the Skin. I just absolutely adore that film. That film is about Scarlett Johansson, who is like a alien. Perhaps I shouldn't throw too many spoilers in this, because this is a kind of more minor film, which you should definitely check out. So I tried to go for slightly less spoilers here. It's about Scarlett Johansson, who is an alien on Earth. To her job is to like seduce men for sex, and then basically kills them. For what purpose? It's unclear, but that's kind of one of the beautiful things about the film. The film doesn't really give you any information about anything. Leaves pretty much every single thing in the film is up to you, what you think about it. It's very obtuse. It's beautifully directed by I think his name is Jonathan Glazer, the guy who made like Sexy Beast, right? So
Yeah.
It's got lots of gorgeous visuals, and it's got like a very artistic, very calm, almost Kubrick style calmness, like staticness to its shots and things, which is just fucking beautiful to look at. That movie, it's just gorgeous. And there's actually, it's actually really disturbing. There are some moments of real psychological horror. The beach scene in particular, which I won't go into details, but the beach scene is incredibly affecting and really quite hard to watch. I think of the last decade, that might actually be one of the hardest scenes to actually sit there and watch. It's really awful and completely messes with your sort of
Instinct almost.
yeah, exactly, like your instincts. It's just awful. I think like that scene is so bad for me, as much as I love that film. Like often when that scene rolls around, I'm just like, yeah, it's time to make a nice cup of coffee right now. Suddenly thirsty for a nice cup of coffee, and I'm not going to pause the movie. I'm just going to let it run. But I love the mystery of the film. I love trying to figure out what things mean. I love the acting in it. It's really it's really naturalistic. Partially it's naturalistic because a lot of those people were actually genuine people. They weren't actors. They were filmed unaware, and then asked after the fact, like, we're filming for this movie, can you appear in the film, etc. So there's a lot of like natural acting. And again, I don't really want to go into many details about this particular one because it is a minor film and many people probably haven't seen it. So if you're listening to this, it's just really worthwhile. It's just an absolute class film, start to finish. And no matter how many times I watch that fucking film, like there's more mysteries, there's more like layers of onion to be peeled back. Just fantastic. Have you guys seen that film? I know you have, Brack. What's your opinion about that movie?
I thought it's like I thought the Thames was a pretty difficult film to watch. Like you said about that beach scene, it really plays like with human like protective instinct almost, where it's like very upsetting to watch, like insanely upsetting. And I think in general, like it really. Like you're very curious like to what's going on, like it doesn't really tell you anything, so like while you're watching, like you like your mind is really working to like, okay, what I'm seeing, what's going on, like on a plot level even. And after that you also like what's going on like on more like on a human level, and like it doesn't really use metaphorical level. And like there's like moments in the beginning especially where they film with like not real actors, right? And it's really like it really portrays like loneliness in such an interesting way, of like these lonely men on the street and like what happens to them. But like a beautiful woman says to them that she wants to go home with her, or ask them to go home with her. Like it's some of those like moments are like very like raw and real, and like kind of like you feel like some of those people like, I haven't heard that like in 10 years. Like you feel like the loneliness on their face, like that, and it's like, this is really like hard what people are go through, like what normal people go through. Even though this is like a sci-fi movie, like that stuff is real. Like the loneliness that some of those people feel is very real and very raw. So in that level, it's great. And like the ending, the plot of like what happens to Scarlett Johansson's character is also very like. Yeah, disturbing, but also very like interesting to watch.
Yeah, it also has a fantastic soundtrack as well. A really, really fucking creepy, brooding soundtrack as well, which fits things absolutely perfectly. I love the soundtrack in that film, and also lots of beautiful local color as well around Scotland. I mean, it's like basically travel porn at the same time. It's
really, because I feel
gorgeous to look at, all the scenery and stuff.
I thought Scotland like look very like it's definitely always foggy in the movie. Like there's never like a beautiful sunset or something. It felt like very depressing, like very like Alien even. So yeah, I don't think I'm not sure. I was like, damn, better book my tickets now before this guy becomes the next new hotspot in Europe. Like, and then it's feel that while watching it.
Oh man, I disagree. I think that feels like real Scotland. You know what I mean? With all the edges sanded off, and I love that about it. It just feels like completely natural. And as a person from that country, that just feels like real. That's not like your Harry Potter, shined up version of England or Scotland. That's like real Scotland. That's like, like you go walking down the town centre and get knifed. It's like that type of Scotland, the real Scotland. So I like that. Have you seen Under the Skin Humor Metal?
No, not yet. It's my backlog. Every time you bring it up, I think, I should watch that movie, and then I forget about it. It's it's a problem. But that doesn't mean I won't watch it in the future. But so far, I haven't seen it yet. But I'm interested.
God damn, get on that, son. That movie fucking absolutely rocks. And talking about rock, because rock's music. What's next on the list?
Damn, that. Talking about a movie about loneliness, let's talk about Inside Llewyn Davis, which is very much a movie that feels very lonely. It's about a musician, like you follow the week in this musician's life who's just having a rough time. That's like the basic plot of it, but it has so much to say about like artistic failure, right? Like everybody has failed at some point, or just failure in general. You just see this guy put his heart out and and just fail, and it's just so painful to watch. And it's also very much about depression, right? Like it has this character, like part of the plot is that like his best friend, like his partner in like his music group, has killed himself, and this guy is also feeling very like depressed and suicidal about it, and it's just trying to find his way in the world while not succeeding. Like in that way, I found it like a movie that the first time I watched it, I was like, okay, yeah, I like that. I enjoyed that. I think it's a good movie, but for some reason, it really stuck with me for like months and months afterwards. Like every once in a while, like you're just like sitting in a train, and you're like, oh man, I remember Inside Llewyn Davis for a second now, and it just like makes me feel kind of sad and kind of emotional. So yeah, that's one of the reasons I like it. It's really hard to describe, because it's like a near perfect movie from the Coen brothers, and I have like no way to like actually go deep into why I love it so much.
I adore Inside Llewyn Davis. Like you, Brack. That movie, when I first watched it, I thought, oh, that's a good movie, and then it stayed with me, and then I was like, actually, I got to watch that again, and then I watched it again, and then that very quickly turned into a deep love of that film. Just absolutely perfect. And I love its theme. It is like, it's really depressing. Like really truly depressing, that film. It's like sometimes you just can't make it. You know what I mean? Like that's the movie for the rock stars and the people who have talent, but they just don't make it. There is no happy ending for them. And I love the fact.
Yeah, the most emotional scene is actually this moment where he really like pulls his heart out, right? Like completely. He plays like this I think it's Queen Jane, the song, and he plays it like very mournfully and like very full soul. And then the guy is like, I don't think there's much money in this. And that's it. That's like completely put down. It's very like, oh, this is like an emotional low point in his life. And it's very like hard to watch.
Well, I think the final scene in the film, right, is a symbolic of the whole thing. Like he's in this kind of group of folk musicians, and in the final scene, he's beaten up and thrown into the trash. Because I think he's offended somebody's girlfriend or something. While he was on stage, he gets beaten up. He gets thrown into the trash. Meanwhile, while he's lying in the trash, basically Bob Dylan comes along and goes into the club and basically tears the house down. And it's like that's his spot. Bob Dylan like took his spot. He didn't make it. Bob Dylan did. and became a huge star, basically doing exactly the same thing, just with perhaps a little bit more talent and a bit more luck. So I think that is the basic like theme of the film. I think that like for the guys who just didn't make it, and it's just really fucked up and it's really sad. But at the same time, that sadness is really alluring. It's like one of those depressing movies that I'll sit on and like have a little bit of a cry and a little bit of a sad time. Yeah, it's a fantastic film. I love it. Have you seen that, Human Metal?
Again, no, sorry. Backlog.
God damn! Oh, okay. We just spoiled the film for you.
Well, that's what these kind of lists are.
To be honest, I think this is not a movie you can spoil. Because like it doesn't. There's no like twist that happens in the movie. They're like, oh my god, I never saw that coming. But it's like, yeah.
It's a mood thing.
Yeah, although
I guess
at one point it does have the most heartbreaking cat abandonment in any film ever.
But yeah, again, interested because that's what these lists are for, to remind people of movies that they maybe haven't seen yet and that they should maybe check out. So
yeah,
these are two for me.
Yeah, definitely. You should check out both those films. They're fantastic. So I guess unless you have anything else to say about Inside Llewyn Davis, we'll move on to the next one. Brack, no, you ready? He's stroking his beard like a Bond villain. I'm guessing.
I'm ready to listen to you talk about the movie you picked. Yeah.
All right. Again, man, my whole list is front loaded. Apparently, they didn't make any good films in the back end of the decade.
Hey.
So I'm going to talk about The Wolf of Wall Street, the Martin Scorsese film. Yeah, just fun, balls to the wall, fun. That film, just I love it. I think it's fantastic. It's like mainlining like adrenaline. That film, or mainlining something, probably a bit more, a bit more dangerous than adrenaline. Yeah, mainlining Quaaludes. That film is so colorful, and it's like the films about greed, like and excess are always fun. Like the moments in Scarface that deal, like in the gangster movies that deal with the gangsters having like the good life and stuff like that, and people making money and becoming successful. Those movies are usually just generally fun, and this movie is probably, I think, probably the best ever all-time example of that type of genre, like the rise up from nothing, making lots of money, stitching everybody over, and going crazy with the excess and the drugs and the women and the fucking being degenerate pricks. That's so much fun to watch. It's shot through with like a really high amount of energy, like great performances. I think it has Leonardo DiCaprio's best performance ever. I think he should have won the Oscar for that and not The Revenant, if you ask me. Although he's also fucking great in The Revenant too. He's great in everything, actually. He's just a really good actor. But yeah, there's so many fantastic performances in it, like so much energy, so much fun. And of course, it has the other side. It has the come down at the end of the film. And it does feature like a really intense, like heartbreaking scene at one point. The kind of breakup of the guy's family, and the scene where he's beating his wife and trying to steal the kid, and like that's terrible to watch, and that's really sad. And the movie definitely needs that. It definitely needs that, that kind of come down at the end. But yeah, just fantastic fun and fantastically funny film. It is long though. I have to say, it is an ass number for sure.
Oh yeah.
That's like one of those, like some movies, like 3 hours long or whatever, and you watch them and it's like you don't feel they're 3 hours. That one, it's 3 hours long. Like, that shit. But yeah, it's just wonderful. Like I never get tired of it. Like it's so much fun. Yeah. How about you guys? Any opinions on Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah, I think it's fun, but like you can see like a person, like there's like some people who watch it and like, this is fun for a certain extent, and then it just makes you feel gross. And there are people who's like, oh my god, I just want to do the same thing. And that's all the people you have to avoid in your life. But right, like those are just like immoral, terrible people. Because like this is a movie about a immoral, terrible person, right? And so some people are looking at it like, I wish I could just do the same thing, right? I wish I could just like
I want to be that guy.
I want to be like somebody who like takes like millions from like poor people and then just like use it to like throw insane parties, like make people to like eat their goldfish for like $1 million or something like that. Like they're like in a way it's like a circus. You're watching a circus like in the movie. Like it's crazy what's happening. In that way, there's enjoyment in that. But yeah,
it's fun while you're watching it, but the longer you think about the ramification, the real life ramifications, and how the things that happen in the movie relate to that, it makes you it gives you an icky feeling. So depending if you want to do that, if you don't want to think about that too hard, the movie is just fun. But if you look a bit behind the theme, and I mean this is based on a real life story, so. And you were talking, Chuchu, about the how the movie like levels a bit at the end and comes down, and the character has kind of a downfall arc, which is usually what happens.
I think it ends with like him not having a downfall arc. That's like the twist.
Yeah, exactly. He comes away from all of this, from all the shit he pulled. He comes very light. Like the movie kind of ends off a I'm glad I did it note, and. A lot of the other movies that kind of venture in this territory don't do that. Like, if you mentioned Scarface, the main character dies at the end. So he gets fucking torn to shreds by machine guns. So, and another good example maybe is Blow with Johnny Depp, that also ventures in that territory. And that movie ends on such a fucking depressing note. Like, that guy in prison alone isn't really the owner of his own mind, of his memory anymore, of like he isn't really capable of doing anything more. He lost his daughter, everything. It's really sad at the end, and it's just like, yeah, he had fun for a while, but he paid for it. And I don't feel that Wolf of Wall Street really does that at the end. Yeah, shit happens to him, but it's like, it feels like, okay, but he still would do it again. He only regrets parts of it, but he doesn't feel responsible in parts. So, and I feel if that is how the real life guy acted, and if that is the way he came away from all of that, it's kind of a leaves you on a bit on a bad feeling.
Like, definitely makes it certain to show that the prison he goes to is what some other people would call a country club, right? Like he goes to like a country club prison, right? It's like playing tennis on like a beautiful like lawn, and like they're like that's the stuff that he goes through, right? And he doesn't feel any remorse at all. Like he feels like, this was perfectly fine to do this. So yeah, he does. It definitely doesn't have a come down at the end, in my opinion.
Well, actually, the real guy's in the film, isn't he? He's the guy who, at the end, in the final scene, he's the guy who introduces Leonardo DiCaprio to the stage when Leonardo DiCaprio is doing the final pen speech. Okay. That's the real dude.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's what the guy does as well. Like in real life, he's not in prison. He spent like maybe 2 years in prison or something like that, maybe like even less. And now he's just like TED Talks and shit, and speeches for money.
Yeah, he basically teaches people how to be an asshole like he was.
Yeah.
Which is... like, you don't let the guy do that!
Like you don't know if that's maybe some of the problem of the movie, maybe not. Like you feel like a lot of people watch this movie and I have no idea that the movie is calling them like terrible people, right? The movie is definitely on the side of that this behavior is despicable, and that's like there is some emptiness in this type of lifestyle, right? That's definitely an aspect of the movie. But you feel that it's something enough done that the people that people like him, like the main character, watch this movie and think, damn, ain't that amazing, right? That's what you feel like. And so in that way, it's very angry watching it. Like that's even like the movie's fault why you're getting angry about it. It's just the fault that some people are so terrible and so greedy that they watch this and they look at it like it's like a roadmap to what they have to do in life to succeed in life.
It's like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm saying, it's like mainline journey is really exciting and fun, but at the same time, it's populated by dickheads.
Yeah,
all these people are fucking idiots.
Like, and the movie is hilarious. Like, it's definitely a comedy.
Really funny.
Like,
I laughed a lot. The final Quaalude scene on the ship alone is just like fucking dying while watching that because it's so fucking hilarious.
Get the loons. Like the scene where the scene with all the classical music where Jonah Hill goes into slow-mo and starts smashing the shoe on the snooker table. Women's shoes!
Jonah Hill is fantastic in this movie.
Yeah, but like the line, like it's insane. Like these people are so like full of themselves and stuff like that. I think there's like this one scene where like I think it's who's the character, John Burtle, right? And he gets like out of prison and like they throw a party for him. Like the first time for like 12 months later he died, same age Da Vinci died or something like that. It's like not that I want to try to say anything about it. Like he's like stuff like that. And like Jonah Hill in this movie is like full on bunkers. Right, like there's this moment where they do drugs, like, and there's this moment where like it's just like Jonah Hill is like explaining why he married his cousin, right? Like, remember that scene? Like, his entire monologue about like if anybody's gonna fuck my cousin, it's gonna be me, right? That's what he said. Like it's straight up.
I love the scene where they're sitting, that exact same scene where they're sitting at the bus like, come on, dude, smoke crack with me, man. Smoke crack with me, dude. God fucking smoke crack with me. It's cracked me up. Yeah,
What's he gonna do on the bus?
Well, yeah, sitting in the bus stop, like, trying not to get caught while doing crack.
I think the main criticism people have with it is like that it doesn't really show like the negative like implication of his behavior all that much, right?
The outfall, yes.
Like there's like maybe one scene where it's like maybe like it shows like the theme of the movie, right? Where it's like this one woman in his like office who's like just like cut off all her hair, like made herself bald for like $1 million or like a couple $1,000s or something, where it shows like, oh, this is like this is the system we created and it's terrible and it does that to people where they just feel ashamed and like and used. Like there's like the scene where that woman, everybody's still partying on and she's like looking at the money, like smiling, and then like at the same time like trying to hold herself from crying, right? Which is like, oh yeah, this is like a symbolism of what capitalism is. What Martin Scorsese thinks capitalism is. And it's like, oh, it's probably very accurate and very terrible. But some people just like completely miss that moment and just like they go on with the party that's like happening like a scene after that.
Well, I think the most powerful scene in the film, the most like emotionally, is the scene where he breaks up, he loses control, breaks up with his wife, and like he ends up like smacking her about and trying to steal the daughter and then crashing his car. And that's pretty hard to watch. I mean, that's a pretty. I mean, that's he definitely isn't being glorified in that scene for sure. He's definitely, he's shown to be out of control, totally out of control. He basically rips out his couch, pulls out a massive bag of cocaine, and goes crazy during that scene. So I think whilst like all like high roller films, I feel like they're definitely, the fun comes from the allure of that lifestyle, but I don't think only an idiot would look at that guy and say, oh yeah, that guy's got his life sorted out, he's got all the answers to everything. Do you know what I mean? I want to be like that guy.
No argument there.
You say that.
If you think that, there's people those people are fucking morons. And Trump is the president of the United States. Donald Trump is the president of the United States. People are idiots.
People are morons. Like even with like artistic films like this or like artistic shows like Breaking Bad, there are little people that can't get it. Like there is something powerful about the main character doing Penelope Biggs because you're in them with like in the road with them, like in the story with them. So you feel like, oh, they're doing like the main character. We have to follow them. We have to support them. And it's like that's what happened with Breaking Bad when people are angry at Skyler, right? And that's what happened to Wolf of Wall Street as well. And so yeah, well, it's very disturbing.
I think I think that film really sort of hinges around how you feel about one particular scene. There's the scene where he is being told to retire, right? And he does the whole retirement speech. But at the end of the retirement, suddenly he decides to continue doing what he's doing and fuck everybody, right? So I think during that scene, like, same people, like, for fuck's sake, just give up and get out now, and just stop doing. And I think probably other people were probably like really happy when he decides to continue. Yeah, So I think like it depends.
Fuck them all!
Yeah, go on, fuck them all, make the money, fuck over those people. Although he's only fucking over poor people at the beginning, right? A bit later, he switches his attention to whales. So technically, when his company becomes really powerful, he's dinking over rich people.
But they also never show him show him having any regret of fucking over.
That's because it's a true story, and he doesn't.
Yeah,
he's a douchebag.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Christ, he even appeared in his own film about himself. He's a douchebag through and through. Oh yeah. I think what they could have done is shown the effect of poor people like losing their houses or something.
Yeah, but that's not
the
what
movie.
This movie is mainly about. The movie is a comedy. The movie is
it's a farce.
A bit of a commentary on capitalism, sure, but its main focus is the comedic stuff. Just watching this guy rise and kind of fall, but not really. And it's watching all the ridiculousness and getting a blast out of all the crazy shit happening.
It's kind of like
right.
It's kind of like anti-inside Llewyn Davis in that film. Like you see a guy who doesn't make it, and this one the douchebag wins. Basically,
so
he has a good time and he wins.
So you and Metal, talk about the next left riot on your list.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, is enough to give you whiplash.
Speaking about douchebags. Well, do I have a movie for you? The next movie I picked is Whiplash, and that is a representative pick for the director Damien Chazelle, which I have come to like a lot. I think Whiplash is great. He also did La La Land, which was okay for me, but didn't really hit that hard for me. It was a bit too schmaltzy. But he also did First Man, the story of Neil Armstrong. And the first mission to the moon, and I love that movie. I think that's fantastic. He also wrote 10 Cloverfield Lane. I didn't know that. What the fuck? He wrote the screenplay for that. Also a fantastic movie. Didn't direct that, but yeah, wrote the screenplay. So, yay. Good stuff. But yeah, Whiplash was the first movie of his I saw. And it blew me fucking away. And for people who haven't seen it, who don't know about it, which is kind of weird because it got some big Oscar buzz, I guess. But yeah, it's about this guy portrayed by Miles Teller. I forgot his name in the movie. Who is basically this kind of gifted jazz drummer, big band jazz drummer who enrolls in this prestigious academy. And there's this one super prestigious teacher who's like the guy who's like who has basically gotten it all kinda and is now teaching at the university. He's the most renowned teacher there, and if you want to become big, you need to be taught by him and you need to be put under his wing and everything. So he definitely wants to be that. Problem is that guy is a super asshole. He is like this mega macho, has this super mega macho threatening way of teaching, like imposing himself on his students, like abusing them, bullying them, just subjecting them to psychological torture, to basically doing everything to make clear that he is the big guy, they're the little ones, and they need to do everything he asks them to do without question if they want to make it, otherwise they're out. And he's like this really moody asshole and short-tempered, short-fused and everything. And portrayed by J.K. Simmons, who a lot of people might know as J. Jonah Jameson from the first 3 Spider-Man movies. And he's great in those, but he's fantastic in this. Like, this, he got rewarded with the Oscar as best supporting actor. And that's well-deserved in my opinion. I've rarely seen a performance in a movie that blew me away so much, like his performance in this, and made me hate a character so fucking much. And still were so enticed by that character. Just want to see what's gonna happen next with that character and our main character, and their relationship and how that develops. Because you feel what that character is about. You understand that character, and you want to see our main character triumph over that piece of shit in a way. Even though our main character is not that super sympathetic either, he's kind of a bit of a stuck-up bastard. or asshole in a way too, in certain ways, but he pales in comparison. His shortcomings pale in comparison to what J.K. Simmons does with his role, what his character is, and just from the character relationship alone that movie established, and that's the main focus of the movie, it's worth seeing. Like, this is the main draw. This is the main thing. These two characters clashing against each other in a way, and how their dynamic changes and everything later in the movie and stuff like that. And it's riveting to watch. It's scary to watch. It's a stomach turner at certain points. Like, it's an emotional roller coaster ride, and it's just kind of about a guy trying to become a good drummer. And so you wouldn't expect that maybe out of a music movie, but goddamn, this is a harrowing movie to watch, and it's thrilling. And the final act kinda is one of the most, depending on how you look at it, kinda, it's a fuck yeah moment, but it's also a, maybe not. Because is that main character gonna become the same asshole as his teacher now? Because he's kind of on the way for that now, in the way he acts and what he did and everything. And yeah, it's super interesting. And just the movie looks fantastic as well. The soundtrack is fantastic. Just holy shit, the final musical number in that movie, one of the all-time greats in my opinion. I love everything about this movie. I think it's fantastic, in my opinion. Again, kind of perfect, even though it's also a bit long. But just you can feel when they sit in that booth, when they sit in that dim lit practice room, and just J.K. Simmons gets into a room and does his thing. You feel like the uncomfortable heat just oozing from the screen. Just you feel like this is this really sticky, moist atmosphere, and there's so much pressure for everyone in that room, and that's coming all from that teacher and all from that environment, and it feels life-threatening to a certain point. And I love that movie for that. I love that it conjures up these kind of emotions and it's just about fucking jazz musicians in a way.
And it's about the drummer.
It's great.
Like I feel like
exactly.
They definitely picked the drummer, because in general that's like the person in the band people give the less of a shit about, the least of a shit about in general. I'm not saying anything negative about drummers, but
it's also the loudest kind of instrument, and also it feels like I think, literally beating things. You're literally beating.
They definitely had like this one
the drums,
scene, right, where like he's like maybe at the top of the game, like one of the best drummers in the world, right? Like that's what I'd like to say. And there's like they're on a dinner table with this guy who's like a mediocre football player, right? Well, like he's like his family dinner, and everybody is like giving him all the attention and all the the admiration and stuff. Well, he's like a mediocre football player, right? And he's like I'm not sure if it's a football player, maybe it's like another sports, but like a mediocre sportsman, and he's like this like top level, highest level drummer. And like it like shows like how this like he's giving his life for something, like completely 100% for something that most people don't give a fuck about. And it kind of is like it really tries to say something with that I don't really got completely, but I feel like it's just trying to say something with that.
We were talking about in the firstly I would say I love Whiplash. I think it's a great film. We're talking about guys who don't really get their comeuppance or that type of thing with The Wolf of Wall Street. But this is another film where, I mean, it's great and it's clever, but actually the J.K. Simmons character in this film is completely vindicated at the end of the film, because he does, through his dedication and his teaching principles and his drive to, basically put his boot so far up a student's ass, it does actually work at the end of the film. He brings that performance, the climactic performance, out of that kid. You can see he's kind of proud of that, his student, and like what he's accomplished at the end. So in a way, because he's a terrible person and a total bad guy, but at the end of the film, the message is kind of, that's kind of worked, the way he's treated that kid.
That's the thing though. And you're right that if you watch that final moment in isolation, it feels like, okay, this is how it's supposed to be, and you need to sacrifice everything to become really good at something, and that's the way to go if you want to be really good, and that's a positive thing. But if you watch the rest of the movie, like everything that came before it, you immediately have to question if that is worth it. And I think the obvious answer is no for most sane people. I don't want to put down any like hardcore super gifted artists who did put so much work in their artistry in what they do in their life and put so much effort in learning the stuff they did. But if you have to be a piece of shit, like sacrifice everything, sacrifice your loved ones, sacrifice your family, everything to be just good at this kind of thing, and you have to become the asshole that you don't want to be in the beginning of the movie, and the asshole wins through that at the end, then that price is too high to pay. Just be something else or be not the best. It's fine too. It's okay. And the movie, I like Greg said, I'm not sure if the movie is really telling you this, or if it's like more on that was the right way to go. But I think it's kind of up to the viewer.
Yeah.
More.
It is.
It leaves that more. It leaves that more open, more so than Wolf of Wall Street does in a way when it comes to judging the actions of the character. I think it's more, ambiguous in that kind of way. But I think you have also more chances or more material to say, no, that was the bad decision. That's a bad way. That's a bad thing that happens at the end of the movie, because there's so much bad shit showing in the beginning and not shown in a good light, not shown in a fun light. It's not shown like, hey, this was a really fun time, guys. We got on drugs and we're high and had a good party time.
This guy's life is practically ruined before the end.
Yes, he only has his music now. That's all he has, because everything he did was to do kind of that. So, yeah, and that's
like you definitely saw like the few seconds before he has this triumph again, like his life was completely empty, right?
Yeah,
it was completely empty. Like he has his relationship, but it was like completely ruined. Like his family relationship in general was like kind of destroyed as well, right? And but that's like showing the one person for who it succeeds, right? But it doesn't, like they're like a full classroom of people who are not who are like. I think they talk about one character killing themselves, right? It's like, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like they don't like, even for the one person like out of 30 whose life isn't ruined by this, his life is still kind of ruined. So it's like kind of like showing how shitty this is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's moral ambiguity. Well, not immoral ambiguity. There is no ambiguity in its morals. It's that the fucking teacher's completely bankrupt. But the fact that you have to question the morals, the message of the film is partially what makes it great. I love films that don't, like slap a sticker on everything, which is why I hate the fucking ending of Interstellar, as we discussed. I still love that film though. But yeah, I really loved that about this. I remember talking about his work, La La Land was so close to being on my list, but like La La Land's a really weird one. For me, I fucking loved that film when it first came out. I went to the cinema to see it like 5 times with 5 different girls, which was kind of an interesting period in my life. But like, but anyway, like I saw that film like 5 times at the cinema and absolutely loved it. I mean, I really thought that was one of my favorite films of all time ever made, and then I really got fucking bored of that film. Like it dropped off hard.
It's a very simple romance story. That's the thing. It's visually impressive. The musical numbers are very fun. But I feel like on an emotional level and character development and everything, there's just not that much interesting going on. It's told in a kind of interesting way, visually interesting and everything, but it's not in itself an interesting character story, or not that interesting, or not something that we haven't seen before. So it didn't feel too emotionally engaging. And I had some of the problems when, in the beginning when watching First Man, where I was like, okay, this is a bit emotionally distant, and I don't quite get what they try to do with Neil Armstrong here. I'm just mainly in this for the whole pseudo documentary about Apollo 11, and then some things happen in that movie where it's like, okay, now I get it. Now I'm emotionally engaged. And then the very final moment in that movie and the musical cue sting and everything works so perfectly. That's why I connected to that. I didn't really get that from La La Land, where it's like, it was very emotionally heightened. There was a lot going on, but in the end, I was like, okay, this was a nice or kind of nice romance story, but I didn't feel like there was that much substance to it. And by the end of First Man, and definitely by the end of Whiplash, I felt like, okay, there was definitely something substantial here in terms of character development, in terms of what the movie was trying to do with the story, with its characters. So, yeah. I guess that's why those movies work better for me. But I still like La La Land. I think it's a fun movie.
I think definitely La La Land. I was much more invested emotionally in La La Land than I think that you were. Like the final scene in La La Land, where he's playing that song, and like you get to see the fantasy version of his life in his head, and that classic scene at the end of La La Land where he looks up from the piano and stares at you just like only as Ryan Gosling can. Like that was like, oh man, I must have cried so hard when I saw that film, like all 5 times. I loved it. But I don't know, there's something about that film that, like, I don't know, I'd happily watch Whiplash tomorrow. I'd rather pull out my fucking teeth than watch La La Land again. So I'm not quite sure what happened.
Since the first time. I've always watched it once, so I'm not sure if I would like it again. But the first time I was like, yeah, this is very satisfying, and like it really has like this amazing montage at the ending, right? Which is like this really amazing montage. Like, and it ends with that, and like you just leave the theater like feeling like elevated. Like it's great, but I haven't watched it. I haven't felt the need to watch it since then.
I think when you like something too much and then you completely burn yourself out and it just your body like rejects it. I think that's what happened. Yeah. Just like I'm all La La Land out.
It's like if you eat too much good food at once and then you get like this gag reflex. It's like, well, okay, maybe went a bit too far there.
But yeah, Whiplash, fantastic film.
Yes,
fantastic. If you haven't seen that, definitely go see it. Human Metal, what is next?
Next on my list, also a movie from 2014, it's Nightcrawler, and
at least that is finally a happy movie about a great guy.
Yeah, this is depressing Sea Creatures. No, also Snide social commentary, Sea Creatures. But yeah, this is not really a representative pick. It came down between this one and Birdman, because I like Inarritu stuff. I like Birdman more than Revenant, but still, it would have been this or Birdman. But Choo Choo would also maybe have picked Nightcrawler. So I was like, oh fuck it, I'm gonna pick Nightcrawler so we both can talk about it. Because yeah, I like that movie a lot. It's probably Jake Gyllenhaal's best performance I've seen so far. Not his most fun, definitely not. That's probably Mysterio from Spider-Man: Far From Home, but it's his most chilling one and his most, I guess, kind of convincing one in a good way, but also in a bad way. Because if you believe that people like this exist in the world, which definitely is the case. So yeah, this is about a psychopath who is kind of making his way through the if it bleeds, it leads media in a way, and becomes like this guy searching for violent crimes and the scoops on that, and climbing the ladder in his job. Because he's really talented at manipulating people, at portraying himself in a certain way, and just being a completely ruthless, psychopathic piece of shit. And you basically watch, him climbing the ladder and him using other people trying to use him, but he just is better at the game than they are. And in other movies that would be like, hey, cool, look at this main character, you really want to see him succeed and fuck over these assholes. In this movie, you're just sitting there and you're just looking with eyes wide open at the horror developing in front of you, and so many people being assholes and doing the worst that they can do for money. And yeah, this movie is kind of a horror movie, really, in more ways than one. And centerpiece is Jake Gyllenhaal's character, and it's a thrill ride, it's chilling, it's horrifying, and I kind of love it because it shows you what these kind of people are about, and that they will just walk over corpses, literally, to get what they want. And yeah, he's one of the people best at this. And yeah, it's horrifying, but it's also worth a watch. Maybe some of you will only be able to watch it once, but yeah, it's a fantastic movie. I think also visually fantastic. I think the director was it Dan Gilroy, right? Hasn't really done that many other good things.
He made,
which kind of weirds me out.
he made Velvet Buzzsaw. Velvet Buzzsaw was
What?
alright.
I haven't seen Velvet Buzzsaw. It's also with Gyllenhaal, right?
Did he direct that Star Wars movie?
Kong Skull Island. No, he wrote the screenplay for that.
No, that's his brother, I think.
And
I'm sorry.
the Bourne Legacy.
No, that's also his brother. These are brother directors as well. Tony Gilroy, who also made a basic movie, Michael Clayton, but he directed.
Damn.
He directed The Bourne Legacy and sort of directed Star Wars Rogue One. That's a different guy.
Oh man, The Bourne Legacy was naff. The Michael Clayton is an incredible film. God damn, it's so good.
Yeah, but still, Nightcrawler is fantastic, and I don't know, I still would recommend it, but don't prepare for a good time. don't expect a good time. It's partially, in a sick, twisted way. Some of its parts are fun to watch, like seeing, if it was only like, oh my god, you would turn off that movie. But seeing the plans that Jake Gyllenhaal's character comes up with, like being executed, and everything working in his favor after a while in a way because he's so good at this kind of shit, and just the other pieces of shit just not expecting him to be that good at this,
and then
underestimating
and he would go to such lengths for
exactly this. That he is just willing to go farther than they are. It is in a way kind of fun, but it's again also horrifying. So it's a polarizing movie.
Well, I absolutely adore Nightcrawler. It's a spectacular, it's a fantastic psychopath film. I mean, within the first 5 minutes, no, even less than that, of the movie, he murders someone in the first few minutes of the film, and takes the dude's watch. And that was over fucking like copper fencing or something. Like he was stealing copper fencing. Some security guy caught him doing it, and he fucking killed the guy and stole his watch. Like the guy starts off as like a psychopath and just gets worse and worse as the movie rolls in. Like there's just something totally missing in that guy. Like he is one of those psychopaths that's good at manipulating people, but doesn't really understand how people act or what people do. Like there's something seriously missing.
It's like a robot trying to understand what humans are like, or trying to copy paste certain humans' emotions, but you know that he doesn't understand it, that he can't understand it. And
his performance is incredible. His vocal cadence in the film is brilliant. Like I saw a really good interview with him actually, where he was talking about the different roles he's had, and he was talking about Nightcrawler, and he was like saying about his performance, the reason that he talks like that is there was just so much dialogue written on the page. Like, and like he was just like, how the fuck do I get this much dialogue, done in my performance? So he just repeats the dialogue so smoothly and so quickly, like because there's a lot of dialogue. So it's like in the film he talks like a slick machine gun. He talks like a fucking like an asshole dickhead salesman who's got everything like planned and patted, and it's just so creepy and so unnerving. His cadence, and also the way that sometimes like he usually speaks very calmly, but when anger cracks and he has a go at someone, it's terrifying. You see those eyes almost come like.
He really looks like a starved animal,
yeah.
right? Like it looks like a dog that hasn't had food for like a week or something. Like he looks very terrifying in this.
Yeah, he looks like an emaciated, like I think Bragg said, looks like an emaciated wolf or something at one point. Like I love the scene where he's having dinner with Rene Russo or something, and then basically he basically screams at her like for giving him what he deserves, and basically demands like sexual favors for her in the bedroom, and I think that's like a scene where he just he basically rides up in that scene, and it's really frightening.
Mm-hmm.
It's really awesome. Brack, any opinions about Nightcrawler?
See, I watched Nightcrawler the first time the way it's meant to be seen, in a 24-hour bus ride on a phone while everybody else is asleep and you can't sleep. That's how I watched Nightcrawler. It's a great movie. Like you've already talked enough about it, like how I felt about it. Like it's a great movie. Great performance by Bill Paxton as well. Shout out to Bill Paxton.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't forget
Billy
about Bill
boy.
Paxton. Holy shit.
And he's the one who said that line. If it bleeds, it leads. He's like the one guy.
Yeah.
He's like his competition, right? And he's like, oh, that guy looks like an asshole. But in the end, he's like the much like more likable person than Jake Gyllenhaal is. But
you get the feeling that there's at least something human in Bill Paxton's characters, like some remaining shards of humanity. You don't get that feeling from Jake Gyllenhaal. So it's just a robot wearing a fucking human flash face mask and trying to emote appropriately.
Yeah. Oh, Billy Ballbags Paxton, rest in peace, buddy.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
If it bleeds, it leads. My Bill Paxton impression is actually not too bad, actually, because I spent so long watching films like Aliens and Predator 2, like when I was young. All right, so which one of us has Mad Max Fury Road on our list? Because
that would be me again.
Yeah, this face it, we've all got that movie on our list, but so I don't know who had it. So Human Metal, tell us.
I don't know what to say about that movie, except it's like, for me, the perfect action movie. Like, I mean, we said it already kind of about Dread, how focused, and Mad Max Fury Road is longer. But I haven't been that blown away by action scenes in forever. Like, I loved a lot of action movies, loved action scenes where it's like, oh, this is so creative, this is cool, But Mad Max Fury Road showed me so much shit that I hadn't seen before in terms of action, and in such an interesting way, and such an interesting stylistic choice, and holy shit, like, I don't know, and it's such, again, just like with Dread or The Raid, it's a very simple movie. It's people driving to one place, and then they're driving back to where they fucking came from. And that's kind of it. That's kind of what happens in that movie. But how it happens is so fucking engaging and fun, and it's so well made, and it feels so like, again, with what we said about Christopher Nolan of using special effects in a way that it doesn't feel like, hey, this is all the movie is about. George Miller did the same thing. Like, the guy who has been spending most of his life since the previous Mad Max movies with stuff like Happy Feet and what else?
Babe in the City, don't forget.
Yeah, the Dark Bait movie. But yeah, and then just coming back and hitting a fucking home run. Like, holy shit, like, from beginning to end, this movie is a joyride, a thrill ride, an everything ride. And mostly a ride, because like I said, they're riding to one space in the desert, and then they're riding back. And, but, there's so much shit to see, so many creative versions of bad guys that do shit, and so much interesting vistas in a fucking desert, like the fucking sandstorm hurricane, what the fuck is that shit? Like, when I saw that on screen, and the red lighting and everything, that looked so amazing. The guys with the fucking poles that just that grab Max or at one point, and it never ends. Like, it, again, just like The Raid 2, this can be a very exhausting movie because the action never lets up. In the beginning, you have a short burst, then a bit of a pause, and then it starts, and it doesn't let you go until the movie fucking ends. And it's great. And again, simple story, but populated with great characters, like our two main
characters as well. Like, there's like basically there's like an entirely other language in this movie, right? Like, this feels like watching a movie from when you read like a book from like 100 years ago or something. It's like, I know this is English, but it doesn't read like normal English. This feels the same way, but the other side. Like in 100 years, like, okay, I know this is English, but like these are words I don't know. These are contexts references that I've never heard of. These are words used in like in context that like don't make no sense. In that way, like it creates like its own like mythology and language, and it's like very interesting to watch. Like you understand everything that's going on, but this is insane.
And a bunch of larger than life characters that feel like they
some literal larger than life characters, because there's one guy that looks like Tokyo Choo Choo, only like really buff, right?
Yeah. He's like this fucking hulk of a man, and with a giant hammer, I believe. And my favorite guy, the guitar dude, the guitar gimp. The soundtrack in that movie, holy shit. Like, one of the best action movie soundtracks I've ever seen. Like, gets your blood pumping, and again, never lets go until the very end. Like, when the drums hit, then the guitar gets added to that, and then the convoy starts rolling. And, oh, holy shit, this movie. Oh, fuck. I love it so much. I think Tom Hardy is great in this as Max. Doesn't, again, very kind of stoic character, very few words, but he does the best with what he has to work with. Fucking Charlize Theron as Furiosa, arguably the main character of this story, because this is kind of her story. Again, which is kind of, aside from the first Mad Max movies, those movies are maybe not necessarily Mad Max movies, as they're more like, hey, here's Mad Max, he stumbles in the story of into the story of another character and helps that character. And this happens in this too. Furiosa being the main character and having the main drive and the main motivation in the story, and Max just being along for the ride and trying to get out of this shit alive. But those two characters working together, so many amazing moments where they're like doing this tag team shit, which is handing each other a gun, reloading. And it's like, you just sit in your fucking movie theater sitting like, fuck yeah, fuck yeah, fuck yeah. You can't stop. And it's amazing. And God, I love this movie. This for me is like the best action movie. That's a representative pick here. In of this decade, in my opinion. It just doesn't get better, in my opinion, as an all-around package than Mad Max Fury Road. Everything, the mythology, the world, the characters, the visuals, the music. Holy shit! Like, I can't believe this movie came out of nowhere. I didn't expect anything from this, and it just fucking blew me away. It
feels very old school, by the way. But like, it even has like moments where it like just fast forwards, like it skips frames, like to go fast forward, like which gives it like a unique, interesting feel, which is like something he did in like the original Mad Max movies. And like you said, like Max is not really the main character. He's like a man with no name type character who just like goes like he's the outsider in other people's story, and that's like the role he plays. So Charlize Theron is more like the main character, and it's amazing. Like I remember one of my favorite like movie going memories is when watching this in 4D, sitting next to like some dude who's like trying to eat nachos with cheese, right? And it's like impossible because like the entire movie, like the action is going on and the seats are shaking, and it's like he had his own like hero story going on, hero's journey, like trying to put those nachos in the cheese and then into his face. Like it was like, that was like.
Did he make it?
He did make it.
Way!
Yeah, but like that was like a thrill ride on top of a thrill ride for me, because I was sitting next to him, so like I know that cheese was gonna go my way if he wasn't doing it correctly.
I also saw that in a really bizarre situation as well. Like when I went to see that movie, I went to see it when I was unbelievably tired, and Mad Max is a really insanely kinetic, energetic, adrenaline pumping film, and there I was like basically like realizing the film was awesome and fighting to stay awake. Like I must have fallen asleep, like all hell was breaking loose, and there I'm literally like falling asleep in my chair, but at the same time like realizing that the film's like awesome as well. So it was a really interesting thing. I was like really fighting myself to stay awake and concentrate on the film.
Have you rewatched it since then?
Of course, I've rewatched it many times.
Good.
I love that film. Of course, easily the best Mad Max film. Definitely, no question. Yeah. And I love one of the things that's super impressive about that film, which I always thought was super impressive about it, is that there's so much going on. Like there are so many moving pieces in the action sequences, yet you know exactly
Yes.
where everybody is, exactly who they're fighting, the minute to minute. There are some films, that are action films, and you've got shaky camera or whatever, and there's a lot of kinetic movement, but you don't really know who's doing exactly what. Do you know what I mean?
Transformers movies, for
Yeah.
example.
You just know that this dude's fighting this dude, and he's chucked him through a window, maybe that dude's dead. In Mad Max, like the second to second action, like, wait, he's just been disarmed and his gun's gone down there and now he's trying to get it. This dude's coming up behind him, watch out. It's really, it has like it's like so clear. It has like a clarity that very few action movies have.
And
you know exactly what's happening.
And still, supposedly this movie has like more cuts like a second than like a Transformers movie, but it's still like because he films it so clearly and so cleanly. Every like the even though you cut, like the action is still happening at the same place on the screen, right? So you don't notice that you're cutting all the time, but because the action is still like on the same frame you're already watching, it's not as like annoying as like a Transformers movie where you have no clue what's going on.
Yeah, it feels like, we have had some movies who did this. Hey, we have this one uninterrupted shot. Well, not really, but that's how it's set up. Like Birdman does this. Snake Eyes with Nicolas Cage does this. Recently, 1917 does this as well. This movie doesn't do it, but it feels like it does. It feels like this is you're watching them doing one shot, even though there are that many cuts. But it's so fucking clear, you can follow the action all the time, that it feels like it's this one continuous shot. And that's why it can get also super exhausting, because you follow the journey of Max through one of those fight scenes, where it starts, where it ends, and it, he goes through so many different stages and passes so many different checkpoints, but it all feels like one big thing, and it never ends, and it's so holy shit.
And also, like,
it's really good.
Also, I love the fact that, thinking about on the same sort of wavelength, like the way that it's so well done, that the small things in the fight like really matter. You watch so many Hollywood blockbusters with like fight scenes, and they're punching each other or whatever, and you're not really feeling anything. You're just like, oh yeah, he's done that. But in that movie, like the guy, like if a guy like in the middle of the fight like pulls a knife, your reaction is like, oh shit, he's pulled a knife. It's like you get like much more visceral like feeling from it. Like I remember the scene where Max gets disarmed and he's trying to reach his gun and something. You've seen that like a million times, but in this one you're really like, damn, get your fucking gun, get it. Like it's like it feels somehow cleaner, somehow like more physical than the majority of action films out there. So yeah, it's really, really excellent action film, start to finish. And it also, it's a film that never gets old. You can watch that film like 100 times. It's always entertaining.
Yep, agreed.
All right, shall we move on then? Who's next?
I'm next, and I'm gonna talk about a movie none of you have seen, and that's why it's a spoiler-heavy movie. So I'm gonna take it like try to like be fake with what's going on in the plot. Last year, right, another movie that I was thinking about putting on my list was the movie Parasite, which is obviously Bong's like masterpiece. I was thinking, okay, should I put that movie on my list? I was like, deciding. And it's like, this is an amazing movie, but I want to give it some more time before I like think about it as the best stuff. But in the same decade, another amazing Korean director had his also had made his masterpiece, which is Park Chan-wook, who's mostly famous for Oldboy, and this movie, The Handmaiden, which to best describe it, it feels like a suspense movie like Alfred Hitchcock makes, only with like the eroticism of like a Paul Verhoeven movie. I can't say it's a simple plot, but it's a plot that starts about like two con men trying to like con Iris, like a millionaire, Japanese millionaire, out of her money. And that's where the movie starts, but it becomes so much more as the main character, like the main woman, falls for the Iris, who she dislikes and instantly. And then it just starts a complete thrill ride that I can't spoil, because it's just like there are so many there are multiple twists and turns in it. It feels like a Soderbergh movie in a way, or like like a Hitchcock movie, but it's full on craziness. Technically, it's probably one of the best movies I've ever seen. Like the costuming, the way it's filmed, the camera work, just like everything about it is like top notch and better than maybe any other movie I've ever seen. And yeah, just emotionally, like there's a real connection between those two main characters in there that you don't really expect while you're watching the movie. And even like halfway through the movie, you don't really like expect that to happen the way it does. But then it does. And you think, oh my God, this movie just went from a great like thriller to like an amazing romantic drama. And then after it becomes a con movie at the same time. It's like it mixes genres, it switches genres, and it even has some crazy Japanese anime cliche in there as well. Which
now you're speaking my language.
Which involves a tentacle. That's all I'm saying.
Oh boy.
Which it's hinted at it. It's like oh my God, this is in this movie as well. This movie is full on bunkers, which Park Chan-wook is so great at. But at the same time, it feels so real. It's filmed so beautiful. The story is so emotional and like down to earth. Like that, the story that the human connection between the characters is so emotional, down to earth. It's like amazing. It feels like a costume drama at the same time. Like not Downton Abbey, but like Sense and Sensibility or something like that. Like the way it's filmed and the way it's set with those beautiful outfits. Yeah, it's hard to talk about it without going deeper into the story, which I don't want to do because I feel like a lot of people listening to this haven't seen the movie either, right? So and I really want them to see it because the movie is incredible. It's literally it's one of the best movies of the decade for multiple reasons. So just don't read anything else about it. And just go watch the movie. You can watch the trailer, by the way, which is also one of my favorite trailers of the decade. Yes, I have a list of my favorite trailers of the decade, and this is on top of that one as well. So go out and watch the movie. For some reason, Choo Choo like just put out his headphones because he didn't want to listen to any of the spoilers. But luckily, I didn't spoil anything. You can listen to the episode later on. I didn't spoil the movie. You should watch it.
Yeah. Okay. I guess that was good timing. What genre is that film? I have not a fucking clue.
It's a thriller, it's a con movie, and it's a lesbian romance. So,
Right.
yeah.
Who doesn't like lesbians?
Sounds good.
Oh yeah, go watch it. It's amazing. It's literally amazing.
Oh,
I'm probably literally gonna check it out while I'm on sick leave.
You should.
I like kind of want to check out all the movies that we have on this list that I haven't seen yet.
It confused me because I thought The Handmaiden was something to do with Hulu, right? Some kind of like
No,
Hulu.
Handmaid's Tale.
That's still different.
Ah, okay.
That's
okay.
That's a very depressing TV series.
This actually is like it starts out like it could be depressing, but it actually ends like very like that's like a really good hopeful ending. So yeah, it's great.
Okay. Talking about something that has a very depressing ending. Oh, fucking hell. Brack.
My
what's
next movie, which by the way, in my opinion, doesn't have that like that sad of an ending, right? Like you say, it's like a sad
me
ending,
neither.
right? I think it's a. Let me first go back to like what the movie is about, right? It's a Denis Villeneuve movie about aliens landing on Earth, right? One of the most cliche setups for like a sci-fi movie. But this isn't about like aliens that are trying to like destroy the world or whatever. We don't even know what the aliens are about. It's actually all about the entire movie is all about trying to communicate with the aliens. In that way, it's very fascinating. Like I love the process aspect of this movie. Like that's like the bulk of the beginning of the movie is this like processing how people would go about trying to communicate with like this alien form in this alien language, in this alien form of like thinking, right? And that's like incredible. And I love that aspect. But then it hits you with this like emotional ending where like this alien language literally like impacts the way you see the world. And like it's like I'm gonna spoil this movie because I feel like people have seen this one because it's like a bigger movie, but it ends with like this language like impacting the way you see life, and that you can see all of your life at the same time. There's like no before and after anymore. You see your entire life all at once, like at all points of your life. And in that way, the character like there are moments where like she sees that her daughter is gonna die at some point in her life, but she still like experiences every moment with her, and like sees the beauty and even the short like lifespan the short time she has together. And in that way, that's like kind of the beauty of the film. Choo-Choo is nodding his head. He's like disagreeing. He's like going from left to forth. He's trying to eat a hot dog at the same time for some reason, because I'm pretty sure he's hungry by now. But he's disagreeing, and I'm waiting for him to make his argument. But he's like still munching on his hot dog, so it's like kind of funny, right? But okay.
No, man. Well, I can see your point, but I think this is just too sad for me. There's sadness in films, and then there's like the uncomfortable type of sadness. You know what I mean? Like there are films maybe you have a good cry, and you feel cathartically absolved of, like you feel like clean after you cry in a cathartic movie, right? You get all that pent up shit out, and it's like a cathartic, relaxing, kind of inclusive purging of sadness from your body. And then there's the other type of sadness where you got like your throat hurts, you got snot pouring out your nose, and like you got red eyes, and you don't want to be seen by anybody else in the theater. That's what The Arrival did to me. It's like it's sad to the point of being painful for me. That was one of the movies that I wrapped up, and I cried for about 20 minutes after it finished, and then I was like, I don't ever want to see that film again.
Oh, no.
I mean, it's a masterpiece. I love it. It's great, but I just can't deal with it. I think the difference between you and I, Brack, is that I'm a father and you're not, and I think like that. So whilst you can say, you can understand, like how it feels to be a father. You can, but you can't really. It's like being a father is not something you can quite understand until you are a father. And going back and watching all child Jeopardy movies, completely your perception of them totally changes. It really does. And suddenly like those things really affect you. And so that film was just so sad, because for me, as a father, when I'm watching that, I'm feeling how I'm relating that directly to my own children. Do you understand? Like that those things are coming together, and I'm really reflecting how it would be to lose my own child in that situation. And it's like, it's unbearably sad. And I think if I didn't have children, I could bear it like you can. But because I do have kids, it's overwhelming. It's like a type of pain which I can't readily face. So it's a masterpiece, and it's a fantastic film. And I agree with you, all the stuff about communication. It's a wonderful film that takes like the best parts of movies like Contact and stuff, and like reworks it into a different form. And it's great, and it's exciting. But man, it's just too painful. But that's a good thing, in a way, for a film to get you with that much emotion. I mean, it's very rare for films to do that for me. But yeah, it's just that film's the worst.
I think it's okay. I'm gonna do something right now that nobody ever should do. Like I watched this movie pretty often.
Put your pants back on.
Pretty often, right? I've actually rewatched the movie pretty often, and I also watch like sometimes like when I feel like cathartic, or like I watch the ending on YouTube, right? And one time I did something that like nobody should do, is to read the YouTube comments.
Oh boy!
But this time I came across a person who in the comments said like this person lost his or her daughter, right? And then he felt cathartic while watching this movie, and like here she says like exactly what I felt about this movie, right? And he says like, I too would live every day of my life again with my daughter, knowing that I would lose her. I get through it all, and what that told me is that the power of love is worth all the pain, and for all the darkness life brings you, there's light in there too, and that's all part of the tapestry and journey of life. That's what I felt watching the ending of the movie. Right? It's very emotional, and it's very like sad, but it also shows like the rewarding aspects of living and the rewarding aspects of life. And that's why like this entire movie breaks me down every time, but it also sort of builds me up at the same time. And it's like a very unique emotional experience. And
I get that. I got the same thing. I mean, I got the message, but it's just somehow it's just unbearable for me. Like I just can't do it. I just can't take it. It just like you say, like having I don't want to think about it too much, but yeah, it's just I totally understand the theme, and I totally agree with you. Like having those wonderful moments with your daughter, you know, like the same with me. If I was in exactly the same situation, I would do exactly the same as she did. I would still have the child, you know, and because love and beauty that would be a worthwhile thing to have. But like, however, just facing that, you know, having that beauty and knowing that your child is doomed, and how every moment must be filled with like the pain of knowing that shit. I just couldn't take it, man. I mean,
I understand why you couldn't take it. Like, I understand, like when in your situation, I might also look at this movie. I never wanted to watch it again. That's a possibility, but I'm not yeah, I can't experience that obviously. So in general, it's just like an emotional, extremely, like I cry every single time I watch that, the film. Like it literally can't help it. Like I watched it 3 times in the theater and I cried every single time. So yeah.
I think if I was to compile a list of the biggest tearjerkers of my entire life, Arrival would be right near the top of that list. I think it's like there are very few movies that have ever emotionally affected me more than that one. Like that's sort of some really short list above Arrival. Anyway, Human Metal. How about you? You staying? I mean, I know you love Dead Kids, so.
Who told you?
Your mother.
Right, yeah.
She likes Dead Kids too. Unfortunately, she couldn't do you.
Yes.
It was so bad. Sorry.
And believe me, she tried. Anyway. Yeah, I can't add anything more really to what you guys said. I love Arrival though. I haven't watched it again, but I want to watch it again. In fact, I think I'm gonna order the Blu-ray right now. But I loved it when I watched it in the movie theater, and I have to come down on Brack's side in terms of, you know, in regards to the ending and everything and the message and how I feel about it. But again, I do understand. I don't have kids. There is an emotional component missing there for me that would probably make it more emotionally harrowing to watch this movie. So I get your point of view as well, and why you can't deal with watching this another time or again. So yeah, but I think that movie is even the super emotional twist and component aside. That's a fantastic movie. Like, it looks fantastic, like all Denis Villeneuve movies. It looks fucking great. The whole idea about how language works and trying to try to understand someone whose understanding of language is something completely different, and trying to make that work in a way. Like, the whole approach the movie takes to that, and what language means, and what communication means, and everything, and how that is like built into every fiber of our lives, is super interesting. And I love that about that movie as well. Like, the movie has a bunch of cool things working together, and then the emotional component that both of you talked about is great and fantastic as well, and fantastic actors. Amy Adams, and this is amazing. And I yeah, I loved that movie when I saw it, and I'm looking forward to seeing it again. And yeah, that ending will fuck me up. Like with for most sane people, aside from the two people sitting next to me in the movie theater, who apparently expected something like Independence Day. Have you watched the fucking trailers, you idiots? I was. They let off a comment at the end of the movie. I was still like in emotional whiplash, like trying to recover from the final moments of that movie. And either the woman or the man said something incredibly dumb, and I got so angry. It's like the fucking fuck. Just wasted on people like you. This kind of movie. Fuck. And I hope you never have kids. I hope you don't have kids. Fuck off. Jesus Christ. But yeah, aside from that, I really liked that movie a lot, and even though it was emotionally taxing, I think everyone should watch this movie. Parents too, yes, at least once. Just maybe after that, just hug your kids a lot, I guess, and be happy that they still are in your life. But I think just to have this kind of deep emotional experience with a movie. I think these moments are not super rare if you have a good eye for movies, but on such a big scale and such a with such a big budget, with so much visual panache and everything, and told that well, and in such an interesting setting, science fiction setting. That is kind of underused, the whole approach with the language and trying to communicating with the aliens and not being everything about blowing each other up most of the time. So it's just a really cool experience that everyone should have at least once.
What?
So even
don't get me wrong. I don't mean to give the impression that I disliked the movie. I think it's fantastic.
I didn't say that. Yeah.
I think
I agree.
It's incredible, high-minded science fiction. All I'm saying is like it's emotionally overwhelming for me in an uncomfortable way, which is a positive thing, Nobody said being made to feel things is terrible, but but I think it's a wonderful film, and it's superbly directed. It's got lots of really intelligent, high-minded science fiction. Like Brack was saying, it's so nice to see a science fiction film about aliens coming in to Earth, which doesn't involve like fucking the White House being exploded or some shit like that. You know what I mean? It doesn't have a bunch of army men shooting slimy things.
It also immediately explains why in other sci-fi movies they just like make the humans and the aliens be able to speak English with each other. Otherwise, you always have to have this movie in between, to have an entire like hour and a half like sequence of them learning like the language from each other, and then there's the rest of the movie. Like there's no possibility to make. And I also think it's funny that the movie's about language because Forrest Whitaker's accent in this is truly bizarre. Like it's like going from Boston to like some other like place of the world. Like it's truly a bizarre accent.
Yeah, well, he tends to do that in certain movies, like doing something weird with his voice
Which I love,
for some
by the way.
reason.
It's very compelling.
Yes, me too. Sure, it's just it seems to be his thing. I don't know. So Daniel Craig's too. Have you seen his recent movies where he played Americans? And he's just going all out there, like in the movie with I forgot the two actors, Adam Driver and the guy from White House Down and 21 Jump Street, the movie. You know who I mean, the buff guy.
Yeah, that guy, Cillian. No.
Yes. Yes. I can't remember the name either.
Fucking Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum.
There we go.
Yes. So in that movie where they robbed that NASCAR ring, that's
great movies,
ridiculous. And also Knives Out movie he was in recently, which is fantastic, by the way. He does Foghorn Leghorn for some reason from Looney Tunes. I don't know. Some actors are just into this kind of shit, and I can see why. So Forrest Whitaker is probably one of those people. But it doesn't really feel misplaced in this movie. I mean, he's not the focus. So.
No. Yeah. I think it's just funny. But
it's just funny.
Let's move on to the next movie on the list that makes me cry, which is Into the Spider-Verse.
Tears of joy.
By the way, I actually get an emotional reaction from Into the Spider-Verse. I'm not joking.
Me too.
There's I'm just talking about it right away. Like there's the scene, like there's two scenes in a row, right? The first is one where I'm pretty sure everybody has watched this movie, so it doesn't matter to just go jump right into the middle, where the main character's uncle dies, and he's like giving this like dialogue to his nephew about like you're the best of us, you're your way, and it's like, oh, it's such an emotional scene. And then afterwards, like he has like this scene with his father, where his father's giving like this monologue to him while he's like close behind the door, right, and where he's like talking about seeing the spark in him, and like being like wanted to see what else he's going to do with his life, and see what he's going to accomplish, or what his life's going to be like, and how he's like so like interested to see that, and like how he like believes in it, how he's proud of him. It's like it brings a tear out of my eyes. And then this rest of the movie, this is like an amazing comic book movie. Like this is Into the Spider-Verse. It's like a movie about all the Spider-Man coming together, like to like be dropped into the same universe, and they have to like defeat the bad guy together, and that's like basically the plot of it. And it's so perfectly done. I was thinking about between this movie and Scott Pilgrim, actually, because I think the visual language of this movie feels the same as the way Scott Pilgrim did. Like it feels completely refreshing. Like this movie also uses like cut-in dialogues or like visuals like in the frame that the characters can't see, the same way Pilgrim does it. But it uses like more of a comic book aspect of it, the comic book like influence of it, and it's so perfectly done. It's such a visual, like beautiful and interesting movie that it's just a joy to watch. And then the movie at the same time is like extremely thrilling with the action sequences, but it's also hilarious. Like it's really funny. Like there are like the multiple side characters are hilarious. Like Jake Johnson as Spider-Man is like his like Peter V. Parker, like a more like emotionally depressed like middle-aged Spider-Man, and it's like really funny, like a very relatable character. And of course you have Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man Noir, which is like it's the best Nicolas Cage performance probably. I know Chuchu wants to say Mandy, but I like it more in this. It's such
I didn't even realize that was Nick Cage.
Oh, I think he's perfect.
It is.
Like he's really funny. Like everything is funny, and like the movie moves so quick. It's never boring. Like every single moment, there's like something happening, something unique going on screen, and you feel like you have to watch this movie multiple times to even just get everything that's going on with like the interesting visual language that's going. With like the interesting visual language, and I just love the design of the characters. Like I have like for a little while on my computer, I had a screensaver of the design of the Kingpin in this, which I just like a huge fan of, because like when there's like a close up of him, it's just like his head in like a completely black screen, and it's like, oh yeah, this is hilarious. I love this design. It's like he's such a huge big boy. Normally he's just like a human guy who's like fat or like huge, and here it's like the embodiment of what like big is. Like, you know what I mean? It's hilarious. Yeah.
That man is a walking building.
Yeah, it's amazing. It literally is a wall. It's like I just love it. I just love the way how colorful it looks. I just love like it feels. It probably has like the best like needle drops of any movie. Like the end moment, like the What's Up Danger sequence where he like finally controls his powers. Where like Miles finally controls like being Spider-Man and like having a leap of faith. And it's just like the music comes together with the visuals, and it's just gorgeous. Like there's this moment of like quiet while he's jumping down, and you have like it's like you see him falling down, but they switch the viewpoint, so it's like he's actually falling up, and it's like looks absolutely gorgeous. And like,
Break, I'm not joking. I'm getting goosebumps right now just thinking about that scene.
It's
not a joke.
It's such a great
literally just getting goosebumps. It was amazing when you described that, because it's so good. Like at the end where just adding right on the right orchestral sting that is super heroic right before he pulls up his mask, and it's like, whew. Just this moment of relief where it's like, holy shit, I did it. I'm here, right? And this moment is, of course, centerpiece kind of the film in a way, just the transformation and the kind of coming of age moment for Miles. And It's so great. But everything else, like you said, especially in the visual department around that movie, is so creative and something like that you haven't seen before. Like, you have seen a lot of animated movies in recent years, everyone trying to ape Pixar style. Like, everyone trying to do that. And here comes along a fucking Spider-Man movie, fucking Marvel movie from Sony, and just fucking doing something completely different. Well, of course, by the people who also did something different before with the Lego movie. Okay, I give them that. That was before that too. But also that's kind of a different, that feels more kind of like a stop motion thing. This still feels like a normal animated movie, but it feels like everything jumped right from the pages of the comic book. And not like it's a motion comic where it's like super limited animation, only parts. No, but the visual language of comic books just perfectly realized and transferred and transported into animation. Like, hey, this is how this works in the comic book. If we try to make this work in animation, what do we have to do to make this work to the perfect effect? And they found a way. They found a fucking way. I don't love the limited animation style. I think in certain that is so prevalent in certain anime. I hate it. In this, it works perfectly. It's all about the stylistic choice, and I think for this, how the characters look, how the world looks, the pop art stuff, where it's like very high contrast colors, and you got the interspliced comic pages and everything. You got the fucking I can't spell that word, so I'm not gonna say it. But the noises as text that certain things make on screen. The thuds, onomatopoeia, or however I cannot pronounce the thing.
Onomatopoeia.
Yeah, it's a horrible word.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, exactly. You got those in those movies. There's a bagel hitting a guy in the head and it says bagel. It's fantastic. It's like there's so much fucking shit happening. Like Breck said, on screen, that movie merits a rewatch, like multiple rewatches, just to catch every little detail when it comes to the visual language and how they manage to perfectly encapsulate comic book language in an animated movie. And that's why that movie is also very high on my list, because this is one of the best comic book movies I've seen in recent years, bordering on the best. Bordering on the best Spider-Man movie I've seen probably is. And yeah, it's just everything about the story works. I don't know where they will go with these characters with that story from here, because they're obviously going to do something. That movie was super successful, I think. But yeah, I don't know, because that is such a well done, like, tight package, well encapsulated story, a very good hero's journey for Miles. I don't know what they're going to do with that character after this that will feel, if they do something with him, if it will feel as emotionally resonant and rewarding as this movie did. I want to believe that they can pull it off, because this is a great creative team. I don't know if they can, because this movie is so good in so many different aspects. I don't know if they can repeat that.
Yeah, I don't want to think about it, because I feel like I think when you're making a sequel to this, they're forced to feel like, oh, we have to make it bigger, or we have to like give us more Spider-Man and stuff like that, and I will probably still enjoy it, like, but it won't be like, it doesn't have that emotional coming of age arc that this movie had.
Yeah, I mean, pulling off a tight package, that's certainly something to do. I mean, I really liked. I'm not a comic book otaku like you two, so I think that's a big difference on perhaps how we view the movie. But yeah, I really enjoyed Into the Spider-Verse. I think still for me my favorite Spider-Man movie is probably Homecoming, but like. I also really loved Into the Spider-Verse. It reminds me of that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like the Turtles Forever thing, with all the alternate universes and stuff. That was really, really cool. I really dislike, like, there's one thing I dislike about it, and that's the weird stylistic choice of sometimes the backgrounds look like they're 3D. But not 3D. It's like what 3D looks like if you not wearing 3D glasses, and that really irks me in some scenes. I don't like that stylistic animation choice that they made, and it really distracts me because sometimes it often looks like the background should be in 3D, but it's not in 3D. Do you know what I mean? Like when you're watching a 3D movie in the cinema without the glasses on. That I don't like.
You mean there's like these kind of double frames and stuff like that?
I like
because
a
of
sort
a
of
heavy glow.
bleeding visual. Yeah, like I like that. I feel like this. That's why I felt like some people felt like watching Avatar for the first time, right? Like I'm watching a complete new like dimension almost. Like it's such a unique film. So yeah, I love that aspect of it.
I think it wouldn't work as well if especially the night scenes of the movie didn't have such a generally neon look about them, so the buildings having like an extra glowy frame around them and stuff like that, and feeling like a bit blurry at points, and the movie just in generally the action scenes being very fast and there's a lot of motion. It only stands out for me when there's like really like still frame shit, which rarely happens in this movie, so I guess I wasn't bothered by it. My problem is more in general with the limited animation in other movies, but not in this one. So that didn't jump out at me. But you're right, that's definitely in there. So if other people have a problem with that, I can see why.
Yeah, but again, that's a very small nitpick. In an otherwise fantastic movie, I had a lot of fun with that film. I thought it was really, really funny and also emotionally engaging. I got really sad with anime Spider-Man's robot was killed. I felt really sad. And yeah, it was just a really fun, entertaining blast from start to finish. And oh man, the sting in that film. With the old 1960s, yeah, man, that had me rolling on the carpet. That had me pissing myself. Like, I think I watched that with my oldest daughter, and we must have like rewound or reversed and watched that scene about 50 times, like while pissing ourselves. It was so funny. But yeah, great stuff. Yeah, I like that. I don't think it can ever quite make it into like my all-time list or even like my top list, but it was really, really entertaining for sure. All right. So,
agreed.
Talking about good comic book movies, Human Metal.
Yes, I think we have arrived at our final pick because it's the most recent movie on our list. Not necessarily the best, but, that's how our list is structured. And I picked this one, of course, because I'm the fucking Marvel nerd here. And, of course, this is Avengers Endgame from 2019. Again, a representative pick. Because I like comic book stuff and I like Marvel stuff, and if maybe for some people there are better Marvel movies, like Chuchu mentioned, Spider-Man Homecoming for him, maybe arguably better than this one. I don't know. We can talk about it later, but I think this is just an obvious pick because it wrapped up something that was built up since the first Iron Man movie, which in itself was like a decade ago, a bit more than that. Otherwise, that probably would have been on the list because it started it all.
You can't imagine the last 10 years without Marvel. You just can't do it.
Exactly. It completely transformed movie space, like what the biggest things and how franchises work. Everything in the previous years, for better or worse, definitely. Like without Marvel, you can't imagine it without the Marvel movies in it and what they did and how successful they were and everything what they did for Disney, how that affected the Star Wars franchise, again for better or worse, mostly for worse. Fucking, I cannot believe that they managed to wrap all this shit up with a movie like that in such a satisfying way. I did not expect it to go that well, to have that many payoffs, to callbacks to the very beginning, give pretty much every character in this a very emotionally rewarding scene. Mostly our main character, Tony Stark, in this, who was, again, the one who started it all, like having his arc come to a satisfying close. Talking about moving people to tears, that moment where Tom Holland's Spider-Man comes back and hugs Tony Stark, I welled up. I was like, holy shit, that's just such a cute moment where he just fucking talks like a waterfall, and then Tony Stark just gets this big smile on his face and tears in his eyes. Was just so happy to see him because his plan worked. He, got his prodigal son back. And then he just hugs him, and Peter is like, "Oh, that's nice," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's fucking nice. It feels really good." And the movie is full of that, and there's also a lot of really sad scenes, of course. And man, it's such a strong note to end on for this fucking giant franchise that, for all intents and purposes, for how big it is, for how many intersecting things that it has, shouldn't have worked as well as it did. And there were definitely some moments where they stumbled in a way, movies that were not as good. But in the end, it all came together with this, in my opinion, and it came together fantastically. And I felt so vindicated. Maybe is the wrong word, because I didn't really have like any bets riding on this or arguing against people, because most people like these movies. But I felt like, oh my god, it felt kind of worth having invested the time to watch all these movies in a way, because the end to all of it felt so rewarding. And I guess that was what a lot of people hoped they would get from the recent Star Wars movies, and a lot of them didn't get. But I got that with the Marvel movies. It was the franchise that I was most invested in recent years. It was the thing I always wanted to see on the big screen when I picked up my first Spider-Man book. This is how I imagined that shit to look one day. And it did. It happened. Everything I wanted happened. Like, it was a dream come true. And I was so fucking happy sitting in the movie theater and watching this happen. Yes, also sad-eye, because this is a big chapter closing on this. But I got so much out of this run of Marvel movies that I never expected to have as this fucking comic book geek, like at this kid in high school, just picking up a random comic book and falling in love with these characters more and more over the years. And then, getting all of this shit, putting after a bunch of stumbles from other like movie studios and franchises, trying their hand at these franchises, and then Kevin Feige and his gang just fucking destroying it, like in every regard, and giving us so much cool shit. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy with Marvel, with this, with how it ended, and I'm looking forward to all the shit that's still gonna come next. I want to see all the weird, quirky shit that I haven't heard of until now. I want to see all the big franchises stuff that they haven't, or big stories that they haven't tried their hands at yet. I'm looking forward on their take on the X-Men. I'm looking forward to their take on Fantastic Four. Maybe finally I'll be able to do a good Fantastic Four movie. Wouldn't that be a thing?
Is it even possible? You loved it.
Yeah, who knows? Sure if someone can do it, they can.
So from what I'm hearing, you're like middling on it, right? That's what I'm
yes, it's mediocre affair.
Like I have some problems with the Marvel MCU movies and stuff, and I have some problems with this movie, right? And it all fell out the window, or fell out just disappeared the moment when like that song Alan Silvestri's song Portal start playing, right? And all the portals start opening. It's like and then, like I just feel like a little kid watching a movie like for the first time in my life. I feel like those people felt when they first watched that train like coming to them in the screen, like for the like just what world of wonder did I just enter? That's what I felt like when that moment started. And I was like, okay, this is just amazing. I love this stuff. It's great.
Yeah. So many good moments in that movie. I can't. And in parts, it felt more small scale than the previous one, than Infinity War, in terms of its battle and stuff. But it still felt super big.
I also love Endgame. I think it was like the perfect sort of sign off for that particular group of characters, which which like you say, we've been watching for the last 10 years. I love the way that it really rewards the people who actually had the patience to watch all of the films as well, because they go back in time, right, to various different films from the franchise. Even Thor 2, The Dark World, which was naff. But that was crap.
It definitely was.
But they went back to it, and I was so happy that Thor got the moment with the emotional payoff of finally having that moment with his mother, which was like fantastic. I also love Thor just in general, like the Big Lebowski version of Thor, which is just fantastic.
Fat Thor is best Thor. Like, he's fantastic. There's
a lot of humor in there, a lot of like there were the emotional beats just really were impactful and worked really well, with like the fight between Black Widow and what's his name, Hawkeye, and like you say, that scene where Spider-Man meets Tony Stark, and he's just like saying something. And the thing is, Tony Stark doesn't even smile. You were saying he's smiling. He doesn't. He's just, I think it's just too overwhelming for him in that moment. He's just like staring at him, like, you know what I mean? He's not hearing a single fucking thing that the Spider-Man's saying to him. Not a fucking thing. It's
that oh god, it was worth it moment.
Yeah, that killed
So you feel like character so much. And Tony Stark had some bad moments in the previous movies where he became really unlikable, like Avengers 2, where it's like, yeah, we're just being mad scientists because that's who we have to be. And everyone's like, what the fuck? Fuck off. Even partially in Civil War, maybe, but you kind of can understand where he's coming from there. I think he's probably the one in the right more than Captain America in that. But yeah, in this one, it all feels like you accompanied that character on a great journey.
Also, if you think about the complexity of that moment, like that's a payoff for a couple of things, some incidental details.
Yeah.
Like firstly, of course, the scene in Infinity War where Spider-Man dies, and Tony Stark was saying, if various things. So it goes back to Homecoming. 2 moments in Homecoming are referenced in the film, like the part where Tony Stark was saying to him, if those people die, that's on you. If you die, that's on me. Right, which feeds into Infinity War, where he Spider-Man disappears. Also, at the very beginning of the film, where he goes to he thinks Spider-Man thinks he's hugging him, but he's just opening the door and he's saying, "That's not a hug, by the way. We're not there yet." And in that film, it pays off those things from Homecoming as well as the thing from Infinity War in a few seconds of footage, where in that. So it's really, really pays off on a much deeper level for the people who are actually paying attention to these things as they come.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing I mentioned when he became kind of unlikable in Avengers 2 in a way, they also kind of redeem him here a bit, because it's like, hey, maybe Scarlet Witch messed with my mind a bit, but I saw this shit coming and nobody listened to me. Like, I maybe went overboard, but, this shit was bound to happen, and I was the only one trying to do something about it. And now everyone is trying to come to me to fix it again.
Yeah.
I'm done. Like, I must live on another way. I tried. No one was listening. So, you're right. Okay, I get it, right? You tried. You went a bit in a wrong direction, but you thought you had to, right? So yeah, like I said, the payoffs in Endgame are so well done. It's fantastic. It's how such a big story should end. Like I couldn't have asked for more. I don't know how they could have done this better, in my opinion. I have no idea. It's like talking about feeling vindicated. Like the beginning of this movie, I call for it. It's like if they really want to do, like, open the movie, like, really just get you right in there, make you feel super emotional, open up with Hawkeye with his family, and then you watch them fucking disappear one by one because of fucking Thanos, because he wasn't in Infinity Wars. That's how you open up the movie, and they fucking did that, and I was like, holy fucking shit.
They gave an origin story for Hawkeye's haircut that he has later in the movie.
Yeah, which is very important. His fucking anime haircut. Everyone has an anime haircut in Endgame for some reason. Scarlett Johansson too, with her weird blonde red mixture thing. But yeah, I love this thing. I think it's great. Sure, it's not perfect. Perfect. But on an emotional level, for me, it was perfect.
I think it was perfect for what it was. I don't think you could have asked anything more.
You could probably nitpick certain things, but again, I didn't search for them because there was no reason for me to.
Like I said, with like there are nitpicks there, but like I said, when everybody else is on screen and there are like emotional moments are happening, and it's like like amazing action sequences are happening. Yeah. Like that stuff that like falls by the wayside. You don't
doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it just doesn't matter because the rest is so strong.
It's such a challenging, impossible thing to make. So many moving parts, so many characters. It's a recipe for disaster. It's a miracle they can even make something that's even vaguely functional, let alone awesome.
Look at all the other companies who tried to do something like this and couldn't make it work. There's so many copycats trying to do their own cinematic universes after Marvel did it successfully. And none of them pulled it off. None of them.
Jesus Christ, the Star Wars film had like 5 characters to deal with, and they couldn't even get that right.
Johnny Depp as the Invisible Man is still happening, guys. It's still happening.
Yeah.
He's just invisible.
Yeah. But that's him in that new movie, right? Because it's about a guy torturing his wife.
Yeah, that's right. They remade Hollow Man, right? Didn't they recently? Apparently, that's quite good.
Kind. It's supposed to be really good. Yes, I want to see.
Yeah,
it,
but it's a theater, so I can't go in there right now. So
yeah.
I don't think anybody can really, unless they want to get real sick real fast. And anyway,
yeah, I'm glad Avengers Endgame already came out. If it came out now and I wouldn't be able to watch it, I would probably kill myself.
Well, you are, Jim.
Or just go to the movie theater and be like, fuck it.
Yeah, goddamn.
I'm just gonna get that virus. It's worth it, and then I'm just gonna just fucking put myself into isolation so that I don't transmit it to anybody else. But I have to see this movie, so I'm glad that didn't happen.
Yes,
that I don't have to be an irresponsible asshole.
If Avengers was out, like we would have like billions of sick nerds right now. Oh yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Jesus Christ, that would be terrible. Nobody
would stay at home.
It's the ultimate ironic revenge. It would be literally like Thanos, snapping his fingers, and half the nerd population died from the coronavirus.
Oh yeah, and they're all their loved ones.
Oh man, that's terrible. And with that horrible, depressing ending, we come to the end of this episode of the Radiophonic Sea Creatures. So that's our opinion.
It's timely.
On the top 15 movies of the last decade. But what's your opinion? Oh, valued listener, sound off in the comment section. Please remember to wash your hands for at least 20 seconds.
20 seconds.
Yeah, try to do a bit of social distancing, or at least be respectful of the government's wishes for, kind of, don't be one of those dickheads who's like, hey, this virus isn't that bad, and you go like partying or whatever just because, whatever the fuck. That's just
like these assholes in Nashville who had like this fucking cowboy country congregation yesterday, which is Nashville's still standing strong. You bunch of fucking idiots. Oh yeah. Sorry. Small thing that jumped out.
See, those are the type of dickheads that will ruin everything for everyone.
Yes.
So yeah, don't do that. Just and of course take care of yourself, and don't get drawn into the whole panic buying stuff. That's just bullshit. Yes, and most importantly, please join us next time you run out of toilet paper and you have to use your old receipts for genital cream to wipe your ass with.